Chapter 261, Clear of Heart, Seeing One's Nature, Comprehending the Emptiness, 2. Under the cold moonlight, blood splattered everywhere. Bathing in the moonlight, a fierce and ruthless expression appeared on Feng Lin's face as he bared his canines and howled. Now that he was thoroughly a stone monkey and after being stimulated by fresh blood, a bestial instinct rose from him. Boundless chi flooded his heart as his golden eyes were dyed a bloody crimson. Right now, he wanted nothing more than to destroy everything around him. The smell of blood drifted into his nose, and it smelt so delicious and fresh. Feng Lin seemed to have transformed into a world-destroying devil ape. He kept howling as his aura grew increasingly terrifying. The wolves were still around him. They let out low growls and their bestial instincts warned them of the danger. Their green eyes stared at the skinny figure of the stone monkey, yet none of them dared to get near him. Feng Lin drew in a deep breath as his body started to tremble and his fur stood up straight. The sky turned even darker. The starlight flowed into him with unprecedented speed, many times faster compared to the time that Old Monkey King and Wolf King when they absorbed the astral energy. A thick black-colored chi began to emit from Feng Lin. This was demonic chi. However, this demonic chi seemed different from the one emitted by the Wolf King and Old Monkey King. This demonic chi was packed with a ruthless aura that remained unchanged despite the passage of time. Even if the positions of the stars were shifted, the sky wouldn't be able to cover Sun Wukong's eyes, and the earth wouldn't be able to bury his heart. Such an aura was terrifying to the extreme. When it radiated outward, a cacophony of noises rang out from within the mountains. All sorts of creatures were shocked awake, and they all fled in panic, creating an extremely chaotic scene. What was a demon? If one wasn't a human, that creature would be a demon. Currently in this form, Feng Lin's mind was that of a human, but his body was that of a demon. In the Flowerfruit Mountain where demonic beasts fought each other daily for the sake of survival, his bestial instincts gradually awakened. Finally, under the attack of these demon wolves, the tipping point was passed and the ruthless aura in his heart completely erupted forth. Those monkeys in the forest were all trembling. It was like they didn't know Feng Lin. No one expected he, who was always rejected by them, to actually be so terrifying when he flipped out. The demonic monkey was bathed in blood. He unceasingly absorbed the essence of the moon and the stars, which made his demonic chi grow stronger and stronger. Those demonic wolves all started howling. The feeling of danger grew increasingly stronger. All of a sudden, they opened their maws and manifested black balls of demon fire that blasted over, wanting to seize the initiative and incinerate this demonic monkey who came out of nowhere. The body of the demonic monkey was engulfed in the black flames. But those wolves didn't even have the time to breathe when the black flames exploded. A moment later, the demonic monkey simply walked out, free of all injuries. The demonic chi around the monkey grew thicker and thicker. He roared sharply. His bloodshot eyes stared at the demonic wolves as he lunged over ferociously. Ferocious tiger climbs the mountain. Although Feng Lin was a monkey now, his stances abruptly shifted to the tiger form, unleashing fierce and fast attacks. He was like a tiger pouncing on the wolves, completely ravaging the poor beasts. Those demonic wolves were sent flying through the air, and their bones shattered amidst their howls of pain. They actually couldn't even withstand a single strike. The bones in their heads were tough, but their waist was their weak points. Although the demonic nature in Feng Lin's heart was stimulated, he hadn't lost himself completely yet. The ruthless chi in his heart gushed forth ceaselessly, as he was filled with the desire to slaughter. A stone monkey wasn't a human. At this moment, he truly became a demonic monkey birthed by the heavens and earth. He continued unleashing strikes, seeking out demonic wolves to kill. The crowd of wolves was in complete chaos as their casualties mounted higher and higher. The dangerous situation of the monkeys instantly diminished. The pressure on the old Monkey King also eased up greatly. With Feng Lin's assistant, the old Monkey King could finally concentrate and not be distracted by the safety of its tribe members. It unleashed all its strength. The sword chi radiating from it instantly enveloped the Green Wolf King. Chi, chi, chi. Fresh blood leaked from the gaps between the armor covering the Wolf King. Although all the wounds the Wolf King had suffered could only be considered light wounds, if these small injuries kept accumulating, they might eventually become a threat to its life. It could no longer endure watching Feng Lin slaughtering his pack. It continued to howl. There's actually a demonic monkey hidden within the other trash of your monkey tribes. What a good schemer you are. The old Monkey King had a smile of disdain. It didn't reveal Feng Lin's origin. In fact, it even increased its force. Its sword aura had a hint of coldness within, as it sought to exterminate the Wolf King. The more killing intent it had in its heart, the quicker its sword would be. Sword Dance of the White Ape. Although it was a demon, there was a hint of immortal intent in its sword. Its swordplay was incomparably ethereal and unfathomable. Although the Wolf King had the armor formed from the moon's essence, it wasn't without flaws. The sword strikes caused wounds after wounds to appear on its body, and its aura grew increasingly weaker. Evidently, this old Monkey King was trying to kill the Wolf King and was using the entirety of its strength. It wanted to kill the Wolf King to remove all the future sources of trouble. The sword chi ran rampant. The injury of the Wolf King also intensified, and it finally felt fear. The demonic wolves in its pack were easily subdued by Feng Lin. It had completely lost the chance of gaining a victory. Based on its strength alone, it couldn't win against the old Monkey King. The reason why those trash monkeys could monopolize the peach forest was precisely because of the old Monkey King's cultivation base. The Wolf King thought that the old Monkey King was already on the verge of death, and it had an opportunity. Sadly, the appearance of another demonic monkey spoiled his plans. The Wolf King knew that if it didn't leave now, it wouldn't be able to leave anymore. Being able to become a demon king of a certain area meant that it had experienced many tough and dangerous struggles before he managed to do so. Its intelligence far surpassed those of its race. The Green Wolf King could see that his subordinates had suffered heavy casualties. It instantly made a decision and threw its head back while giving out a long howl. Go! The wolf pack's members were slaughtered easily by Feng Lin, and the surviving wolves had fear in their hearts. If it wasn't for the fact that they also feared their king, they would have fled long ago. Upon hearing the command, the wolf pack retreated immediately, fleeing as quickly as they could and as far as possible. The Green Wolf King had no choice but to retreat after its forces suffered heavy casualties. Where are you going? The old Monkey King finally had such a rare opportunity to finish the Wolf King. How would it give up? It also knew that it was the only king in the monkey tribe now. No other monkeys had enough potential to cultivate. Its lifespan would reach an end soon. If it didn't finish this threat now, its tribe would surely be annihilated the moment it died. The old Monkey King absorbed the essence of the stars frenziedly and unleashed a beam of sword chi that sped toward the Green Wolf King. The sword stance was filled with ferocity. This hatred would only be wiped away by death. However, the cunning wolf was beyond imagination. The Wolf King howled, and a moment later, 10 demonic wolves lunged over and pounced at the old Monkey King. Die! The old Monkey King howled in rage. The sword light swept out, slashing one of the demonic wolves into two. However, the other demonic wolves worked together and clamped their jaws down on different parts of the Monkey King's body. Its legs and hands were all clamped down, causing its movements to be restricted. Now, it wouldn't be able to pursue the Wolf King so easily. When the old Monkey King finally crushed the heads of these wolves, the Green Wolf King had already fled far away. Feng Lin didn't pursue it. Right now, he was just a demonic monkey, and it was impossible for him to be a match for a demon king. If he went after the Wolf King, he would only be courting death. In the end, corpses littered the ground everywhere. The wolf pack all fled away while the monkeys won a Pyrrhic victory. However, things weren't concluded yet. The crimson eyes in the darkness moved further and further away, but howls of sorrow and misery for their fallen comrades rang out, filled with an undying grudge. The wolves would surely come back for revenge in the future. The crimson light in Feng Lin's eyes gradually faded as the ruthless cheek diminished. He regained clarity. He frowned. He could remember clearly that when the Green Wolf King was fleeing away, it shot an extremely venomous gaze filled with killing intent at him. The threat within the gaze was naturally implied. I will return. At that time, Feng Lin knew that the Green Wolf King had made him its next target. He just made a powerful enemy. The corpses of monkeys, the blood of wolves, the entire ground was littered by them. The originally peaceful immortal peach forest now had a bloody feel to its atmosphere. The monkeys cried and wailed. After some time, the dark clouds in the air faded away. The rays of the rising sun were like a beam of divine sword light exterminating the darkness, illuminating the land. Feng Lin narrowed his eyes and stared into the distance. Dawn has arrived. Pitter-patter. The stone entered the lake and created an impact that generated ripples. The waterfall fell from the 1,000-foot precipice, creating rumbling sounds as the water vapor in the air brushed across one's face. On the top of a huge rock in the cave, a dust-covered monkey squatted there, staring at the majestic waterfall before his eyes as he fell into deep contemplation. If it wasn't for him knowing about the mythological records, who else would know that there was another world, the water curtain created by the waterfall? It was a blessed land of the flower fruit mountain. Another world inside the water curtain cave. What secrets were in there? The records were very fragmented. Feng Lin only knew that Sun Wukong had passed through the water curtain with a single leap and managed to enter there. However, from Feng Lin's observation, the force of the waterfall was about 10,000 caddies. The impact was exceedingly great, capable of crushing rocks apart. How could a tiny monkey like him cross it? The mythological records were too simple. It wouldn't have noted down all the facts and reality. There were too many unknown things hidden in blank space. One could become the Monkey King after leaping through the water curtain into the cave. It was easy to speak of it, but how could it be so easy to accomplish it? Feng Lin sank into deep thoughts. All of a sudden, he was startled awake as he glanced at his back. So you're here. As expected of a stone monkey birthed by the heavens. Your senses are very sharp, far surpassing mortal creatures. I have already concealed my aura, but I didn't expect that you could still perceive my presence. A white-furred old ape slowly walked over. At this moment, the imposing aura of a demon king from last night couldn't be felt at all. If Feng Lin hadn't seen that personally, everything would feel like a dream. The old Monkey King slowly walked to Feng Lin's side and sat down cross-legged. Its eyes were filled with peace, staring at Feng Lin with a look of tenderness like how an elder would look at a junior. Feng Lin furrowed his brows. He could clearly sense a rotting aura from the body of this old Monkey King. It was like an ancient tree that was about to die. The old Monkey King seemed more aged than ever, like it could wither and die at any moment. Feng Lin's heart trembled. This old Monkey King was clearly in a very bad shape. It was going to die soon from old age. It was originally already ready to enter the coffin. How could his burst of energy yesterday in that fight not come with a price? With such an old body, it had to fight and suppress a younger Green Wolf King. Clearly, The old ape had burned its remaining life force as the price to unleash its power. Although these were just guesses, Feng Lin's powerful spirituality made him instinctively guess this fact that was incomparably close to the truth. "Stone monkey, thank you for rescuing my tribe," the old ape spoke gently. There seemed to be a hint of anticipation in its eyes, like it was staring at a rare treasure that finally appeared in its hands. Feng Lin nodded but didn't display too much emotions. "Stone monkey, although you have no parents and were born and nurtured by heavens and earth, you are also of the monkey race. Why don't you live with us together? After I die, you would become the new monkey king." The old ape changed the topic suddenly, causing Feng Lin to feel extremely tempted. Such a great benefit was listed out? It was like the old ape was afraid that Feng Lin wouldn't agree. "Machim?" But Feng Lin hesitated. He who was always wary by nature knew that there was no such thing as free food falling from the sky. He was just an outsider. Even if the old Monkey King had high regard for his innate stone monkey's powerful abilities, it was impossible for it to directly give him the king's position, right? There should be some other intentions hidden within this. Feng Lin pondered deeply as he tried to think of the reason. Earlier, when he tried to leap across the water curtain to become the new Monkey King, he didn't succeed and received merciless jeering from the other monkeys. Now, the old Monkey King actually took the initiative to pass the throne to him. It felt like the moment Feng Lin stretched his hands out, he would be able to obtain the throne. This caused him to hesitate. Something that was obtained too easily would also be lost very easily. Feng Lin was very clear on this point. He chose to remain silent for now. Seeing that Feng Lin didn't lose his rationale over such a huge offer, the old ape nodded in satisfaction. "You know that our monkey race is favored by the heavens and is considered a singular race out of the 3 realms. We don't belong to the bug race or the scale race. We resemble humans, but we are not humans. There's nothing to restrict us, so we can live a life of carefreeness. Among the multitude of lives in the world, the monkey race is a unique race that has its own sovereignty," the old Monkey King spoke, revealing an extremely rare secret that only a few people knew. Feng Lin silently nodded. This old Monkey King was pretty knowledgeable. It is precisely so. The monkey race was born in trees and cliffs, resembling birds, but we have the ability of walking beasts, although we don't need to walk on our 4 limbs. We have no natural enemies and can live in the immortal peach forest without wanting for food or clothing. The flower fruit mountain is like an independent world. There are all sorts of beasts and avian creatures here, yet the monkey race is the most suitable to live here in comfort. But sadly, over time, this becomes a bad thing. With no natural enemies, the monkeys aren't skilled in combat. They would slowly lose their bestial instinct and lack the motivation for cultivation. The other beasts live by the law of the jungle, where the weak are food for the strong. They fight each other constantly, and this results in their combat strength far surpassing the monkey tribe. To survive, they have to ignore fatigue and keep absorbing the energy of the sun and the moon. Once they evolve into a demonic beast from a mortal beast, the monkey tribe will no longer have an advantage in being able to scale trees and mountains. For demonic beasts, trees and cliffs are not considered barriers at all. Other than me, all the monkeys in the tribe are just mortal monkeys. They would have no way to resist the slaughter from the other demonic beasts. But it was just so that the numbers of our tribe are extremely huge. Due to the fact that we eat spiritual peaches often, there's concentrated spiritual chi within our bodies, and this results in us becoming delicacies for the other demonic beasts. The old Monkey King spoke in a heavy tone, listing out the dangers the monkey tribe would face in the future. Helplessness and worry could be seen in its eyes. "I'm already very old. I have to choose a new king before I die to lead the tribe for continued survival and to resist the attacks from the other demonic beasts. I think you are very suitable for the throne." as long as you are willing to join us, you will be the new king after I die. The old monkey stared at Feng Lin, his eyes filled with anticipation and even a trace of pleading. Although it was also an ape, the old monkey king's intelligence was extremely shocking. The look in its eyes resembled a human who received hope when it was on the verge of death. Feng Lin's heart stirred and he couldn't bear to reject it. However, he didn't reply straight away and asked a question that contained the greatest worries and doubts in his heart. Why me? There were many strong monkeys in this tribe. Why did it choose him? He was just an outsider. After his experience in cultivation, Feng Lin didn't feel that the fact he was a stone monkey had caused the old monkey king to regard him highly. Rather, it was the innate tyranny he had displayed when he had fought the demonic wolves last night. The old monkey king didn't reply, but asked another question. It stood up and pointed to the waterfall. Do you know why I say that whoever can pass through the water curtain would become the new monkey king? Feng Lin slowly shook his head. Do you really think that I don't know the fact that no monkeys would be able to pass through the water curtain? A solemn look could be seen on the old ape's face. It heavily continued, as the king, not only does one requires great power, but the candidate has to have great talent, and most importantly, enough courage as well. Without courage, how can the king lead the monkeys in combat against the other demonic beasts? This is the greatest requirement needed for a king. Leaping through the water curtain is just a test to choose monkeys who are courageous. Sadly, no one in the tribe dares to do so, only an outsider like you dared to make the attempt. Upon speaking until here, it sighed heavily, feeling sad for the cowardice of its tribe members. Feng Lin's body trembled. He suddenly seemed to have understood something as the layers of fog in his heart cleared up. Chapter 262, Clear of Heart, Seeing One's Nature, Comprehending the Emptiness, 3. So everything was intentional. Feng Lin mumbled. That's right. Only extraordinary creatures can pass through the 1,000-foot waterfall. But if one didn't even have the courage to try, how can they set foot on the heaven-defying path of cultivation and aid the entire tribe? On the flower fruit mountain, other than you, it's probably impossible to find another monkey who can set foot on the path of cultivation. Hence, only you are qualified to become the new monkey king. The old ape spoke in a heavy voice filled with helplessness and gratification. It felt helplessness because despite the large numbers of monkeys in its tribe, not even one of them was qualified to cultivate. It felt gratified because fortunately, it managed to find a suitable successor before it died. Feng Lin fell silent. After knowing the intentions of the old ape, he fell into a state of deep contemplation. Should he accept this fortune that fell from the sky? He was very clear on the helplessness in the old monkey king's heart. This didn't seem to be a falsehood. The weak are food for the strong. Living a comfortable life is the original sin. Because of the environment they lived in, it could be said that the monkeys were favored by the heavens. However, because they got too comfortable, they gradually lost all their courage to fight. They stayed in the immortal peach forest, which was a treasure land. This would naturally attract the invasion of other demonic beasts. If they didn't grow any stronger, they would definitely be wiped out in the future. The lifespan of the old monkey king was reaching its end. This was why it was trying all sorts of methods. It wanted Feng Lin to become the new monkey king. Stone monkey, you don't have any parents and live independently. Since you have no place to go, why don't you join us? With the members of the same species living together with you, you would no longer feel lonely. Also, after you become the new monkey king, given your strong will and talent, you will definitely be able to continue protecting the monkey tribe. I can set my heart at ease even if I die, said the old ape. So this meant that he would become a beast king if he agreed? Feng Lin sank into contemplation. The term beast king wasn't just as simple as a title. It represented the king of a race, and the title holder had the great responsibility of ensuring the race or tribe's survival. But for the sake of the mortal monkeys, the old Monkey King didn't hesitate to discard his pride to beg an outsider monkey. Feng Lin seemed to have faintly understood something. Since his future path was to become the Monkey King, he first had to become a Beast King before he could combine the spiritual stone monkey gene and Beast King gene into the Monkey King gene. In that case, what was he waiting for? Staring at the pleading look on the old ape's face, Feng Lin's heart stirred. It was like he could see a dust-covered monkey helping the old Monkey King up as they walked into the crowd of monkeys. These were all memories of what Sun Wukong had experienced before. Feng Lin's heart stirred. What he was experiencing now was the path Sun Wukong had taken as he matured. Sun Wukong also made the same choice. Undoubtedly, he already found some answers here. Fine, I'll promise you. Feng Lin nodded and agreed. I can set my heart at ease then. The old Monkey King had a smile of gratification on his face, like a burden was lifted off his chest. Last night, I fought against the Green Wolf King and my life force is dried up. Let me bring you to walk a certain path. After my death, you will inherit the position of the Monkey King. It was this sentence again. Feng Lin had heard this several times and he was helpless to say anything else. He nodded and propped the old Monkey King up as they walked into the peach forest together. After that, Feng Lin officially joined the monkey tribe. Due to him righteously acting for their sake when the Green Wolf King had attacked earlier, these monkeys were all very clear that Feng Lin only looked weak on the surface but was actually extremely strong. They no longer treated him as an outsider. But they didn't really treat him well either. Feng Lin didn't mind. He set his heart at ease and mixed into the crowd, experiencing this scene of reality. It was like he had truly become a monkey, drunk immortal water, and eaten spiritual peaches, living a carefree life without restraints. But from the start until the end, he didn't forget his original heart. Although the monkeys treated the peach forest as their headquarters and they had no natural enemies, it didn't mean that this place was completely free of dangers. The flower fruit mountain contained a multitude of living things. There were naturally some powerful groups, such as evil avian creatures and ferocious beasts that could threaten the safety of the monkey tribe. And for the monkey tribe, other than their old Monkey King, the other members were all extremely weak. Feng Lin had also experienced many dangerous situations such as fighting against eagles and hawks, as well as killing ferocious tigers. Given his innate strength as a spiritual stone monkey and his profound martial arts, he was able to win every single time and he gradually became known as the number 2 strongest monkey within the tribe. He had established his might. But Feng Lin didn't really care about this too much. No matter how powerful a monkey is, it is still a monkey. This was a true tragedy. In addition, no matter how real the scenes here were, he knew that everything was just an illusionscape. There was truly no need for him to care too much about this. The more important thing was that Feng Lin gradually understood the true meaning of Beast King. Beasts lived in the wilderness, they had to survive through competition, fighting against the heavens, the earth, and each other. The competition was incomparably cruel. It was survival of the fittest. If they didn't have the strength to defeat their foes, if they didn't have the courage to advance through all difficulties, a Beast King wouldn't be qualified to take on the task of their tribe or race's survival. The greater one's power, the greater one's responsibility. The fog in Feng Lin's heart gradually grew clearer. Even for Sun Wukong, he wasn't born innately powerful. The path had to be traversed step by step, accumulating strength bit by bit. The night's wind was cold, silence was everywhere. Feng Lin was just leaning against a tree branch and sleeping there, but all of a sudden, ripples of unease rose in his heart. He suddenly opened his eyes as his gaze shone like a torch, staring in all directions. Silent. Things were too silent. Darkness was everywhere, and it was completely silent. Even the occasional cries of insects were muted. It was so quiet that one could feel despair in the air. Something is wrong. Feng Lin instantly reacted. He roared and his voice echoed through the forest, shocking everything awake. The monkeys lying on the nearby tree branches were all shaken awake. They stared over in dissatisfaction. What are you wailing in the middle of the night for? Just when they were complaining, at the next moment, all of them suddenly screamed. Eyes, so many eyes. The cacophony of screams broke the silence of the forest. Numerous pairs of red eyes shone like a lantern in the dark. Wolves, demonic wolves. They are here again. Hurry up and flee. Upon realizing the demonic wolves had come, those monkeys were all screaming in fear as they fled in panic. Seeing how cowardly these monkeys were, Feng Lin involuntarily shook his head. He moved ahead and stood beside the old Monkey King. Compared to before, the old Monkey King seemed even frailier now. Its back was bent, like an old man with a stooped back. Don't panic, stand behind me, the old Monkey King spoke in a heavy voice, radiating a sense of imposingness, stabilizing the hearts of the other monkeys. Those monkeys who were struck with fear seemed to have found their backbone. All of them respectively gathered behind the old Monkey King. Although there was fear on their faces, they were no longer panicking. So this was a beast king? In his eyes, the old Monkey King's stature seemed incomparably gigantic and mighty. The hope of its entire tribe was on its shoulder. Oh whoa! The wind was very cold, numerous wolf howls rang through the air. The wolves wearing a bone carapace on their heads moved out one after another. The demonic chi here was so thick that they formed black clouds. Green Wolf King, it is you again, the old Monkey King roared in rage. That's right. Old Ape, it is me. However, I didn't come alone. A burst of malevolent laughter rang out, filled with cruelty. The wolves stepped to the side, opening up a path as a giant wolf walked out. Its body was riddled with wounds left behind by the old Monkey King. This was none other than the Green Wolf King. However, there was actually one more sinister figure behind it. Upon taking a closer look, this figure resembled a fox and a wolf. Its eyes shone with cunning brutality, and its fur was red. The old Monkey King was startled, and he stated the identity of this demonic beast. Blood Jackal King. Jackals were related to wolves. They were cunning by nature, not inferior to foxes, and were all extremely cruel. Wolves and jackals always colluded together. The expression of the old Monkey King instantly turned extremely heavy. It seemed like it would be hard to protect the monkeys of its tribe today. Be careful, they will target you first. It lowered its voice and warned Feng Lin. Feng Lin silently nodded. Old Ape, I didn't expect you to conceal things so well. Out of so many trash monkeys, there was actually one that you managed to nurture into a demonic monkey. The Green Wolf King bared its fangs and let out a cold and sinister laugh. Its eyes stared fixedly at Feng Lin, filled with killing intent. Prepare to die. The old Monkey King didn't continue to waste words. It instantly acted. Their grudge was originally already unresolvable. Why speak so much crap? The Monkey King roared. With a single leap, he lunged toward the two demon kings. Its body expanded in size as its wrinkles faded away, reverting to a state more suited for combat. The sky darkened. The night was so dark that one wouldn't even be able to see their 5 fingers if they stretched out their hands. The astral light in the surroundings transformed into silvery rays that were absorbed by the old Monkey King. The starlight congregated together, causing the shape of a long sword to take form. Sword Dance of the White Ape. The Monkey King was clearly an ape, but it executed one of the most profound sword arts in the world. In an instant, sword shadows filled the air, each of them containing unfathomable mysteries within. His skill far surpassed the most brilliant swordsman in the world. There's an immortal intent inside the sword. There's killing intent. And more so than ever, there's sword intent. The demonic wolves at the front were instantly torn apart. The sword light shot straight toward the two demon kings like lightning, wanting to kill them. Shriek. An ear-piercing sound rang out. It was like invisible needles piercing into one's ears, causing Feng Lin to have a headache. Mind control? Feng Lin activated his spirit force and instantly dissipated the controlling energy. However, the old Monkey King didn't have an innately strong spirit force. Its mind was under attack, and its movements slowed perceptibly. At this time, there was a flaw in its sword stances. Oh whoa! A group of demonic wolves kept howling. The crimson light radiating from their eyes was extremely clear in the darkness. They surged forward, transforming into blurry shadows as they targeted the four limbs of the old Monkey King. The old Demon King bore the pain. He waved his sword and slashed the demonic wolves into pieces. However, these demonic wolves were extremely obstinate. Even after they died, their jaws were still clamped tightly on the old Monkey King. The other remaining demonic wolves all ignored their own safety and lunged over under the control of the Wolf King. They were like tides rushing at the old Monkey King, wanting to bind its movements. Come and delay this old ape for me. I will go and kill that new demonic monkey. That new monkey might be the new Monkey King of this tribe. If we can kill it, in the future, these monkeys would no longer have any strength to resist and will become our prey. The Green Wolf King laughed malevolently. It transformed into a black wind as it lunged toward Feng Lin. Clearly, he hated Feng Lin for spoiling his plans the previous time. The Wolf King moved like an apparition. The demonic chi around it was like a blanket of darkness, smothering those near it. Feng Lin's heart sank as he felt a chill in his heart. Truly, this was a great calamity. The might of the Demon King was terrifying to the extreme. He could also feel numerous killing intents locked onto him. There was nowhere for him to escape. Chapter 263, Clear of Heart, Seeing One's Nature, Comprehending the Emptiness, 4. This pressure, this was a suppression due to the difference in cultivation bases. Feng Lin's body was bent like there was a heavy mountain on his back. Creaking sounds rang out as he tried to straighten his back, but he was under so much pressure that he felt his bones were on the verge of shattering. Little monkey, prepare to die. The Wolf King shot out from the darkness, rushing toward Feng Lin and slashing out with its claws. Its crimson eyes were filled with hatred. It was like it could already see Feng Lin dead beneath its claws. A pair of golden eyes looked up, staring straight at the Wolf King. The ruthless aura within actually caused the heart of the Wolf King to feel a chill. What? This was merely a monkey that had just stepped upon the cultivation path. How could it block the might radiating from a Demon King? The Wolf King started to panic. It felt like it had miscounted something, and a strong sense of unease welled up in its heart. Straighten for me. Feng Lin roared in a low voice. His body then slowly straightened under the formless pressure. A Beast King innately possessed prestige and might. They could generate double-layer suppression for those who were weaker than them. The first layer was the difference in vitality stat, and the second was the toughness of the body. However, Feng Lin's current body was that of a genuine spiritual stone monkey. He was also an innate heart monkey with an incomparably vast spirit force. How could he be controlled by an enemy's mind control? Only this pressure that resulted from a difference in vitality stat was somewhat hard for him to deal with. Feng Lin summoned the entirety of his strength and stood up straight. After that, he unleashed the Vajra subduing Devil Fist instinctively. The Wolf King was startled for a moment, because it didn't expect Feng Lin's counterattack to be so strong. It was instantly sent flying as its long snout was almost crooked from the impact. Damn monkey, die. The Green Wolf King was so angry that its 7 apertures emitted steam. Its body trembled and it melded once more into the darkness. Countless dark shadows manifested, shifting in and out, circling Feng Lin. It was extremely tough to differentiate the real from the shadows. Feng Lin stood at his original location, planning to use no change to deal with a myriad of changes. Swish. A sonic boom rang out as a claw shadow slashed down. Feng Lin instinctively punched out, causing his fist and the claw to clash. A vast surge of energy gushed forth. Feng Lin wasn't able to block it and was blown backward. Chi. But before he could stabilize his footing, a dark shadow already appeared behind him, intending on clawing his back. Bzz. Crackle. Sparks flew everywhere. The body of a spiritual stone monkey was as tough as steel, yet claw wounds could be seen on his back. Golden blood leaked from those wounds. What? The Wolf King howled in surprise. Feng Lin twisted his body and faced his enemy, instinctively launching the Vajra Dragon Claw against the Wolf King. The dark shadow was instantly grabbed, but it dissipated immediately. It wasn't the Wolf King's true body. In the darkness, the dark wolf shadows multiplied, prancing and leaping about. It was indeed hard to track the Wolf King's movement. Feng Lin's expression was heavy. In this short exchange of blows, he was already clear about the Demon Wolf King's capabilities. It used the black blanket created by its demonic chi to meld itself with the darkness. Feng Lin depended on his spirit force and activated spiritual perception. He discovered that these shadows weren't illusions or clones. All of them were corporeal. It was just that the Wolf King's speed was too quick and that Feng Lin's eyes couldn't catch up to its speed, which resulted in the dark shadows. Bzz. Claw attacks were unleashed continuously. The Wolf King acted directly with the intention to kill. The entire space was also filled with its shadow images. Feng Lin barely managed to block one claw attack, and he suffered over 10 attacks in that instant. His body was riddled with injuries. Although I don't know your origin, the disparity in cultivation isn't something talent can mitigate. Today, both you and that old ape must die. The Wolf King's malevolent laughter echoed through the air once again. Its killing intent felt icy cold, sinking Feng Lin's heart to the bottom of the valley. Feng Lin couldn't keep up with the Wolf King's speed. He was now in a situation of extreme danger. At most, he could only stabilize himself and try to guard his body. However, his body trembled violently from every impact. He didn't know how long he could last. You dare? Upon seeing Feng Lin, the new Monkey King's candidate it had chosen, in danger, the old ape was completely enraged. In its eyes, Feng Lin was the hope of the entire monkey tribe. How could it let something happen to Feng Lin? Die, die, die. The old Monkey King ignored the exertion to its life force. It frenziedly summoned its demonic aura to power up its sword chi. With a single sweep, a group of demonic wolves was instantly split apart. It opened up a bloody path as it rushed toward Feng Lin. Old ape, have you forgotten about me? The Blood Jackal King laughed sinisterly as its long claws danced in the air, generating a blood fog that entered the bodies of the nearby demonic wolves. Those demonic wolves actually expanded in size under its influence. Their fur glimmered with blood-colored light like they were coated in blood. The old Monkey King unleashed its usual sword strike. However, the blood coating the wolves actually congealed together and managed to dull the sharpness of the sword attack. Its heart sank. It understood that this must be a bizarre ability of the Blood Jackal King. Under the influence of the blood fog, the demonic wolves in the surroundings were under its control. The Blood Jackal King wanted to use these wolves to entangle it. If the old Monkey King wanted to shake them free, it first had to defeat the Blood Jackal King. All of a sudden, the old Monkey King's body transformed. It stepped out and performed an unimaginably wondrous attack. It was like an agile monkey leaping across the mountain streams as it fused as one with the sword. The sword chi intensified instantly, slashing apart 3 demonic wolves. The remnants of the sword chi then gushed straight toward the Blood Jackal King. But jackals were cunning in nature, and it had long since made preparations for this. It controlled the wolves to rush forward and die in its stead, negating the brunt of the sword chi. The old Monkey King only saw numerous wolves rushing him again and again. It felt like it had sunk into a swamp and wasn't able to struggle free. A sense of weakness surfaced in him. Its heart also sank to the bottom. It was already very old and would soon die. Every time it evoked its demonic aura, the price was the reduction of its life force. Now, it seemed that it wouldn't be able to continue living for much longer. Since this is the case, let's give it all to preserve hope. Staring at Feng Lin in the distance, the old monkey grabbed the sword in its hands tighter and made a decision in its heart. Jajaj. The strange laughter of the Wolf King echoed in the darkness. The Green Wolf King was attacking like crazy. It unleashed his claw attacks frenziedly without stop. Feng Lin's entire body was already soaked in fresh blood. The disparity was just too great. He had already unleashed all the techniques he had, but still, there was no way to mitigate the disparity in their cultivation bases. He felt heavy helplessness in his heart. Strength, speed, cultivation, he was dominated by the Wolf King in all aspects. All techniques were useless, he wouldn't be able to reverse this. He entered a situation of unprecedented danger. Although Feng Lin had the body of a spiritual stone monkey, its immense talent wasn't able to mitigate the disparity in their strengths. The Wolf King was considered a beast king of a region. Its strength was more than one level above Feng Lin. He was like an ancient tree now, standing there unmoving and trying his best to guard his vital points. He didn't even think about retaliating, he could only defend passively. However, the attacks of the Wolf King were as fierce as a thunderstorm. Feng Lin trembled violently from the impact and could fall at any moment. His eyes weren't able to keep up with the Wolf King's speed, hence, there was no way for him to counterattack. There never had been someone who was born immensely powerful. Talent was, after all, just a talent. It didn't represent real strength. Feng Lin was incomparably clear that he had no hope of winning at all. Can I only reach this step? Feng Lin silently sighed. He was filled with an intense reluctance as he hadn't managed to uncover all the secrets behind the Monkey King gene. If he was devoured by the Wolf King in this illusionscape formed by the hereditary memories, the consequences would be unimaginably dire. He didn't want to accept this. In the depths of his heart, he roared loudly, wanting to awaken and free himself from this illusionscape. Bzz. The buzzing of a sword rang out, startling him out of his reverie. Feng Lin glanced toward the sound only to see the old Monkey King wielding the sword with both hands and piercing out with it. It transformed into a sharp beam of light, breaking apart the darkness. Boundless astral energy gathered, causing the sword beam to glow brighter and brighter to the extent where the radiance eclipsed the moon and the starlight. It became the only source of illumination in the darkness. Also at the same time, the body of the old Monkey King started to disintegrate. Sword controls the 9 heavens. A cold voice echoed through the air. The sword was like a flying immortal who descended to the mortal world, advancing forth with great momentum and radiating the intent to exterminate everything. I'm going to die. Next, I will hand over the monkey tribe to you. Allow me to use the last remaining bits of my life force to clear a path for you. A calm voice echoed in Feng Lin's mind. This voice was also transmitted to all the monkeys. From today onward, that spiritual stone monkey shall be the new king of the monkey tribe. The sword beam closed in. The eyes of the Blood Jackal King and the Green Wolf King were wide open. They felt as though a great calamity was about to descend upon them as they frenziedly started to flee. However, the sword attack had already landed. It was like divine punishment, and there was no way to escape. No howls of fear rang out. The beam of sword light circled the air, leaving behind silvery arcs that were incomparably beautiful. At the next instant, the two demon kings and the remaining demonic wolves were all slashed into twain. Their blood flooded out, dyeing the ground red. Right when it was done, the body of the old Monkey King disintegrated completely along with the sword beam. They transformed into pinpoints of starlight that vanished into the air. Feng Lin stood at his original location and was completely dazzled. Deathly silence was everywhere. It was like he was the last remaining monkey. In the blink of an eye, 1 day passed. Feng Lin stood on the ground and glanced up at the 1,000-foot waterfall. He sank into contemplation. King! Numerous voices called out. Feng Lin's gaze regained clarity. He glanced back only to see the monkeys staring at him with nervousness in their eyes. A formless energy congregated on his body. His heart was completely clear, and there were no longer any layers of fog blinding him. What does it mean to be king? A king represents prestige, power, and responsibility. To awaken the Monkey King gene, it wasn't as simple as leaping through the water curtain. What was important was the fact that the members of the entire race or tribe would look up to you for their survival. Their will to live was wrapped around you. This was what being a king means. If this was the case, even if he didn't leap through the water curtain, he would also be a beast king. This was why the beast king gene required bloodthirst, prestige, strength, all these basic genes before they could be combined together and form the beast king gene. The world beasts lived in was a bloodthirsty one. The weak are food for the strong. Only by maturing through the cruel laws of nature would one grow strong enough to become a true beast king. Upon using the old Monkey King as a reference, Feng Lin finally understood the true essence of the Monkey King gene. The Monkey King wasn't just a title. It also represented power and responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. There had been cases of names being called wrongly before, but never titles. Sun Wukong started his path from a nameless stone monkey to the great sage equal to heavens, one who could laugh proudly at all existences in the 3 realms. He slowly matured, from being nameless, to the Monkey King, to Sun Wukong, etc. Each title represented the growth of his power. The Tao of the Heart Monkey simply meant the Tao of cultivating one's heart. What was Wukong, comprehending emptiness, meant then? Gaining comprehension of the great emptiness to break free from all illusions. That was Wukong. This was the true meaning behind why Patriarch Subhuti had given the heart monkey the name Sun Wukong. Sun meant one of the members of the monkey race, and Wukong was the Tao of the heart monkey. Ha ha ha. Feng Lin stood up as he laughed uproariously. He felt boundless comfort in his heart. He had solved all the mysteries. Amidst a shout of excitement, he suddenly leaped out. His weak-looking frame actually jumped toward the 1,000-foot waterfall. The vaster one's heart was, the greater would one's strength be. Using a weak body to resist the might of the heavens and earth. What did he have to fear? He was already clear of his heart and understood the emptiness. Rumble. The space trembled. Feng Lin's eyes abruptly opened. There seemed to be a white flash of lightning breaking apart the mist in his heart. His body changed and his aura was now completely different, erupting forth like lava from a volcano. Even the space around him started to twist. The fluctuations of his energy began to spread out in all directions. In the area around him, there was a huge vortex that could even disrupt space. In the genetic map of his body, numerous dark stars lit up as they glowed with resplendent light. Beast Heart Gene Awakening +1, +1, +1. Strength Gene Awakening +1, +1, +1. Savage Gene Awakening +1, +1, +1. Pressure Gene Awakening +1, +1, +1. Prestige Gene Awakening +1, +1, +1. The sequential genes for the Beast King gene all started to enhance instantly. Chapter 264, Comprehending the Tao in a Single Day. Bloodthirst Gene, 10. Beast Heart Gene, 7. Strength Gene, 9. Savage Gene, 8. Pressure Gene, 8. Prestige Gene, 6. A clear heart, seeing one's nature, comprehending the emptiness. The path of the heart monkey meant comprehending the emptiness, Ryukung. Breaking through all illusions. No fear in one's heart. The vaster one's heart was, the greater would their power be. Fenglin was using the hereditary memories to trace back the original path of Sun Wukong and clear the confusion in his heart. As a result, he had awakened the primordial instinct that existed in the genes. There was no more fog before his eyes. The Beast King gene was fully awakened, with the respective basic genes that made up of it strengthened to their max. The dark stars in his body's genetic map started to light up, connecting with each other and becoming a gigantic constellation that was extremely vast and incomparably bright. At this time, it was like a certain condition had been met. From the golden constellation, streams of starlight radiated and fused with each other before breaking apart, becoming 3 parallel lines that extended endlessly toward the depths of the starry space. Bat-hump, bat-hump, bat-hump. A powerful heart pounded with strength and vigor. In the depth of darkness, the sound of these heartbeats broke apart the silence. After that, as more astral energy was infused, 3 large stars started to light up. The genetic tree started to sprout 3 more branches, and the clear paths of evolution were laid out. They didn't intersect with each other, but their sources were bound together. Bloodthirst Gene X10 plus Beast Heart Gene X7 equals Bestial Gene. Strength Gene X9 plus Savage Gene X8 equals Violence Gene. Pressure Gene X8 plus Prestige Gene X6 equals Coercion Gene. Genetic Potential plus 1.8, plus 1.8, plus 1.8. His genetic potential surged up with unprecedented speed. It was no longer measured in percentage like the past, but became genuine genetic points. His heart and mind were freed, no more fog obscured his eyes. His potential explosively surged. The genetic points were automatically added to the 3 newly awakened primeval genes. Bestial Gene plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Violence Gene plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Coercion Gene plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. The strengthening tallies of these genes surged rapidly along with his vitality stat. The energy evolution of his body increased in speed as well. Vitality stat 530, 541, 553, 567. It soon broke through 600 and continued to rise upward. Energy Evolution Index 9.6%, 9.7%, 9.8%, and it soon reached 10%. His body transformed qualitatively from the inside to outside. A breakthrough in his heart, spirit, and mind, he comprehended the Tao in a single day. From the mythological memories, Fenglin comprehended the emptiness and his heart was clear. His life transformed intrinsically. The satisfaction of breaking through at such great speed caused one to feel incomparably delightful. Feng Lin's life information changed. Name, Feng Lin. Vitality stat, 678. Transcendent gene, spiritual stone monkey gene X4. Primeval genes, stone monkey gene X10, spirit gene X10, bestial gene X5, violence gene X4, coercion gene X4. Basic genes, monkey gene X10, stone birth gene X10, adrenaline gene X4, mental gene X9, psychokinesis gene X6, spirituality gene X8, bloodthirst gene X10, beast heart gene X7, strength gene X9, savage gene X8, pressure gene X8, prestige gene X6. Genetic potential, 9.1. After comprehending the Tao in a single day, his vitality stat shot up into the sky. 3 kinds of primeval genes and 5 kinds of basic genes were awakened in one go as an overwhelming transformation took place in his body. On the surface, there only seemed to be an increase of 158 points to his vitality stat. However, these simple-looking data contained an extraordinary life transformation behind them. Feng Lin opened his eyes. His stature changed and the energy within his body radiated out in waves. He wasn't able to suppress them any longer. The fluctuations caused the space to twist and manifest ripples visible to the naked eyes. For a while, the location he was standing at became the center of this energy storm. Feng Lin silently stared at his palms and then activated his inner vision. He could sense that the energy within his body was surging forth like spring water, flowing endlessly and inundating every cell, every droplet of blood, every organ, every inch of his body was flooded by that power. A strange thought arose in his heart. His breathing seemed to have become one with heaven and earth. He felt that he could easily control the energy of heaven and earth. Absorb. Feng Lin instinctively took a deep breath. Woo, woo, woo. A swooshing sound rang out, and the light along with the air condensed into a circular swirling rainbow. It was extremely beautiful and incomparably wondrous. Feng Lin was shocked. The transformation to his body was simply too great. Even he himself didn't dare to believe it. The path of elite cultivators was the path of energy evolution and to constantly sublimate the essence of his life. As his energy evolution index broke past 10%, he felt that he had passed an extremely important demarcation line. The cells in his body existed in both reality and ethereal dimensions, and had the dual properties of energy and substance. This felt extremely mystical. This starry space golden pyramid was filled with the spiritual chi of heavens and earth. Earlier, when he had taken a single breath, spiritual chi like the cleanest spring water had instantly flooded his body. His body had rapidly transformed the spiritual chi into genetic potential and stored it. If not, given his original amount of genetic potential, it was impossible to enhance all those basic genes he had just awakened to the max. The myths were actually true. Ancient legends said that cultivators back then could have completely lived without needing to consume food or water. They could have survived just by breathing, directly connecting to the energy of heavens and earth, and using the spiritual chi to replace the nutrients that their bodies needed. This process was named anidia. This was a very advanced energy replenishing method compared to eating food. In the universe, in the records of civilizations of the various races, eating food to replenish energy was considered the worst method. It was already very efficient if the energy conversion rate could hit 30%. But for anidia, the body could directly convert the devoured energy into the purest life energy. The conversion rate was at least 80% and above, and it could perfectly remove the impurities that food contained. Energy devourment was a survival method used by high-grade life forms. Eating food was simply to please their palate. They could do with or without it. Feng Lin felt that this was very interesting. he could devour the spiritual chi in the air to replace a part of his biological needs. This was just a minor step in the entire path of evolution, yet it allowed his life function to advance greatly. As energy evolution continued to progress and reach 20%, 30%, he would one day be able to master Anidia completely, which would allow him to abstain from food forever. From what Feng Lin knew, if his cultivation base broke through to the Grand Cultivator realm, his lifespan would increase once more, from 200 years to 300 years. Being able to live a long life was the greatest benefit of cultivation. This was also the main reason why countless people in the universe took cultivation so seriously. Upon sensing the changes to his body, Feng Lin was very glad that he had chosen to set foot on this majestic pathway containing countless possibilities. Gene, Bestial Gene. Grade, High-grade Primeval Gene. Strengthening Tally, 5. Ability, Preying on the Weak. High survivability as the master of bloodthirst, slaughter, and devouring all lives. Gene, Violence Gene. Grade, High-grade Primeval Gene. Strengthening Tally, 4. Ability, Breaking through all techniques with brute force and suppression. Gene, Coercion Gene. Grade, High-grade Primeval Gene. Ability, Expert of slaughter and master of 100 beasts. A total of 3 high-grade primeval genes were awakened in one go. Feng Lin calmed his heart down and sensed the nature of the 3 genes. After the bloodthirst gene had changed to the bestial gene, its power was greatly enhanced. He was now able to swallow the flesh and blood of any biological creatures to rapidly replenish the expenditure of his own nutrients, using battles to nurture battles. At the same time, it also had the ability of the beast heart gene, which allowed one to enter the state of beastification in combat. It was an extremely effective auxiliary ability. For the violence gene, it was purely a combat gene. It would concentrate one's strength within one's body, allowing one to manifest fluctuations akin to shockwaves that could affect the outside world. The coercion gene was a unique and invisible oppression force. It would turn formless pressure into something corporeal, causing enemies to cower even before they started fighting. Ho! Feng Lin suddenly stood up, using his newly awakened abilities. Boom! With a punch, it was like the tides had merged together. Fist shadows flashed everywhere, forming a transparent giant fist made from air particles. The impact caused rumblings to echo ceaselessly when it blasted against a metal wall. Next, with a single stare, the space started to twist as an invisible pressure gushed out from him. The air seemed to solidify, capable of causing people to feel stifled. Feng Lin nodded and retracted his genetic powers. These were merely the tip of the iceberg. One couldn't help but say that these abilities made him very pleased. As for their exact level of power, he would experience them only through real combat. After that, Feng Lin didn't rest. He sat cross-legged and continued to breathe in the valuable spiritual qi from heavens and earth. The spiritual qi gathered over swiftly like clouds and mist, enveloping him. He was like an immortal within the clouds. Ding ding ding. He was immersed in his cultivation until the sound of ringing woke him up. When he looked at the date, he had actually spent a total of 3 days in cultivation. After opening the door, the Greek sisters walked in together. Their auras had also transformed. Eris's transformation was still considered average. After using the transcendent holy water, her vitality had broken through the 400 mark. Her aura was naturally strengthened, but there wasn't any qualitative evolution. But as for her elder sister Yana, her transformation was almost unbelievable. Her weak and fragile body had grown much healthier and stronger. A heroic aura that had not been present before now exuded from her. Her eyes flashed with golden light, and she now resembled an incarnation of a goddess that couldn't be profaned by mortals. She had clearly entered the elite cultivator realm. Moreover, her vitality stat had increased greatly, almost nearing 200. As expected of someone on Athena mythological path. Every time she broke through a major realm, her improvements would be extremely great, far surpassing other common mythological paths. Congratulations on becoming an elite cultivator. Feng Lin smiled. As expected, I can't hide this from you. Yana smiled lightly. As her cultivation base increased, her essence, spirit, and chi seemed to be completely refreshed. Her features grew even more beautiful. There was no longer an air of fragility to her, instead, it was replaced by an air of heroism. Her eyes shone with the light of wisdom. Upon seeing this scene, Feng Lin nodded silently. This must be the real appearance of someone walking on Athena mythological path. Before this, Yana had taken a wrong corner, but after his guidance, she had found her way back. One couldn't help but say that Yana's breakthrough would truly benefit their alliance, allowing their probability of succeeding to increase. After the three of them exchanged some greetings, they started once again to look into the information of other exam candidates, hoping to find suitable people to join their team. The info on countless exam candidates was refreshed. There were all sorts of people. There were ninjas from Japan, monks from India, knights from the West, etc. The origins of these exam candidates were all different, but from their dressings, they could more or less tell their origins. While searching for suitable candidates, Yana also instantly sent out the recruitment email she drafted. But without exception, all the emails she had sent seemed to sink into the sea. There were no proper replies. Indeed, there were occasional replies, but most of them were mocking ones. Eris's expression grew increasingly unsightly, and Yana's eyes also glinted with anger. Feng Lin frowned, understanding that most probably these methods were useless. Everything was about profits. If you wanted people to join your team, how would they agree if they couldn't see any benefits? Because the three of them were from the solar system, they were despised by everyone else in the universe even before they could say anything. Everyone felt that they were destined to fail the exam. Although they felt helpless, this was the reality. The universe was simply too vast. Feng Lin was very clear that although the three of them could be considered peak geniuses in the solar system, in the perspective of the entire universe, they were nothing but nameless individuals. Only by paying a price would they be able to successfully recruit those geniuses from the other parts of the universe. But what valuable items did they have that could move the hearts of others? Feng Lin contemplated deeply, but other than his mythology knowledge, he had no other valuable things. From the start until now, he was very clear on what his greatest advantage was. In this era where fragmented myths were everywhere, knowledge was priceless. Knowledge was the one thing no one could reject. Staring at the Greek sisters sending out the useless recruitment emails, Feng Lin suddenly spoke, "Yana, add a condition when you send out the emails. They have to be of Chinese descent." He intentionally emphasized the words Chinese. "Machim?" Yana felt puzzled. "Why did you add this condition?" "Just do as I requested. Trust me." Feng Lin smiled but didn't explain further. This concerned his own secrets. No matter how close their relationship was, he wouldn't divulge anything. "If our luck is good, we will be able to find 2 comrades for our team today." There was a hint of confidence in his tone. Those who could enter the elite cultivator realm would all have their own secrets. Since Feng Lin didn't elaborate, Yana naturally didn't probe further. After interacting for so long, she was clear that Feng Lin wasn't someone who spoke randomly. She decided to listen to him. After adding the new condition, the search results after the screening were vastly different. Without exception, the ones left behind were people of yellow skin and black hair. Feng Lin's eyes flashed as he rapidly read through the information. his gaze was already locked onto two of the listed candidates. Name: E. Age: 18. Background: Huaxia Star Republic, Great Shaman Planet. Cultivation: Elite Cultivator Realm. Vitality Stat: 627. Name: Suli. Age: 16. Background: Huaxia Star Republic, Green Hill Planet. Cultivation: Elite Cultivator Realm. Vitality: 521. Great Shaman Planet? Green Hill Planet? The names of these planets couldn't help but make Feng Lin join up the dots. After that, his heart stirred as he spoke. Yana, bring out the battle records of these two, please. Sensing that he had made some discoveries, Yana instantly acted. A moment later, 2 pages of information were projected out. On the holographic screen on the left, a half-naked body could be seen. A cold-looking young man with bronze-colored skin had a bone bow in his hands and was shooting arrows. The arrows were quick and silent. They penetrated through space, leaving behind silvery arcs that were exceptionally beautiful. Those who had gotten hit by the arrows all died from their bodies disintegrating from within. The force behind each arrow was terrifying to the extreme. On the holographic screen on the right, a skinny young man with a fox mask could be seen. Behind him, black-colored auras in the form of 3 demonic tails could be seen. Black flames gushed forth from him, exuding an inauspicious aura. These flames caused Feng Lin's eyes to blaze. This was demon fire. A faint smile appeared on his face. Shamans and demons? Interesting. Chapter 265, Shamans and Demons. Feng Lin stared at the 2 holographic screens as he sank into a look of contemplation. This drew the attention of the Greek sisters. Why? Are you interested in the 2 of them? Yana walked over and asked. Feng Lin nodded. Their abilities aren't bad, and they are precisely skilled in long-range style and energy eruption style that we are looking for. If we can recruit them, our overall strength will increase greatly. Oh. Upon hearing his words, Yana and Eris exchanged glances, feeling excited. Given Feng Lin's judgment, his analysis wouldn't be wrong. They walked over and as expected, they also discovered the unique characteristics of these 2. Firstly, for that barbaric-looking young man had totems imprinted in the form of tattoos all over his body. He was barefooted and only wore beast skin shorts. He was running freely on the plains, just like a hunting leopard that was filled with a wild primordial aura. The young man had a huge bone bow in his hands and shot out arrows so quickly. The enemies and beasts who were hit by the arrows were all petrified before they disintegrated from within, like they were under some sort of curse. This was an extremely bizarre and terrifying ability. The power of shaman curses. Feng Lin's eyes gleamed as he sank into thought. E? What a strange name. Yana furrowed her brows. She had a look of trepidation on her face when she saw the bizarre power of that bow. What a ferocious and brave character. This was already the interstellar era, yet this person's aura was still filled with wildness like a warrior from primeval times. Although his attack methods seemed primitive, the power he exuded was terrifyingly immense. Yana was also someone who used arrows. Thus, she could see how bizarre Yi's archery was. Hitting targets accurately at 100 paces away didn't count for anything. But when you added the power of curses into the mix, it was going to be extremely troublesome to deal with. Although it was somewhat sinister, such attacks weren't extremely rare. The most shocking thing was the fact that there seemed to be a strange law infused into the arrows. She had the feeling like the moment he fired his shots, his arrows would never miss. No one would be able to evade them. She used her hacker skills to break the data vault of the Cultivation Association. These battle videos were taken from students who had participated in the prior examinations held by Cosmos University. With no exception, the enemies of this young man were all cultivators. However, under the arrows of this young man, those people tried all sorts of methods, but they weren't able to evade the arrows at all. All of them died hopelessly. Was this young man using a sure-shot technique? Terrifying, truly terrifying to the extreme. Yana then took a deep breath and turned her gaze to the second holographic screen. The fox-masked young man had a strange smile on his face. His figure shimmered in and out, like he was capable of melding into the shadows. Inauspicious black chi emitted from him. His figure was actually graceful and elegant, brimming with a strange charm. All his enemies seemed to be mesmerized as their movements slowed and a dazed look could be seen in their eyes. After that, the black demon fire erupted forth. It ignored all logic and was actually ice-cold, freezing his enemies into ice crystals. Yana's eyes shone with golden light as a blurred look appeared in her eyes. However, she instantly recovered and her expression was as though she had just seen a ghost. She was a female, yet she was actually charmed by that man for a second through a video recording? When did this happen? In fact, she started to doubt herself. She, who was a woman, her charm actually couldn't be compared to this man. Bizarre, fearsome. The two sisters had heavy looks on their faces, finally understanding the terrifying aspects of these two candidates. Investigate the current situations for the two of them. Check if there's any accurate info on them already joining the other teams, Fenglin spoke. Yana nodded. Her fingers tapped on her microchip and very soon, she received the updated information. These two like to go solo, and they haven't joined any other teams yet. However, upon speaking halfway, she stopped. What? Fenglin curiously asked. There are some problems with them, Yana spoke in a heavy voice. For E, the information stated that countless teams have sought him out before, but all of them were rejected by him with no exceptions. I wonder if he is looking for something specific, or he just loves to go solo. The resting period was to allow the exam candidates to recover to their peak states, as well as to give them time to form a team. E was extremely strong. However, after 4 to 5 days had passed, he still had not joined any teams yet. There should be a reason behind this. Fenglin couldn't guess his reason, but he didn't mind it as well. To a cultivator, cultivation was the most important thing. It was also their greatest desire. He knew that his knowledge was a great temptation to those who walked the Huaxia shaman path. No other rewards would be more tempting. He was going to exact an open scheme and wasn't afraid that E would reject him. Fenglin simply smiled with confidence. What about the second one? He asked again. Yana's face turned cold. This Suli, no one invited him, he is like a jinx. According to my information, those who wished to form a team with him all died mysterious deaths due to unlucky circumstances. He is simply the embodiment of trouble. Oh. Fenglin's eyes narrowed slightly. Interesting. Although these two candidates had many strange points about them, he wouldn't give up on recruiting them so easily. If he wasn't wrong, these two should be walking on the shaman path and the demon path respectively. Their potential was immense. If he could recruit them, they would provide great benefits to the team. Their entire team would be like a tiger that was given a pair of wings. From the techniques they had displayed, Fenglin guessed that they could be walking on Hui mythological path as well as the nine-tailed fox mythological path. These two were among the strongest in the shaman types and demon types pathways. Shamans and demons, in the myths and legends, these two groups were natural enemies. Their abilities were very different, but because this was precisely the case, the two different sources of abilities worked very well together. It was like a perfect combination. shaman warrior Yi was clearly an archer. Although he used cold weapons, his archery was extremely fearsome and had bizarre might. His long-range attacking abilities were very powerful. As for that demonic person, he was different. A single tail from him could produce black demon fire. 3 tails meant that he could use 3 different types of energy. He was precisely the energy eruption type. The 2 of them could complement their current team perfectly. Let me handle the communication. I will personally invite them. Fenglin made a decision. Do you really want to invite them? Their origins are a little strange. If you invited them over without careful consideration, we wouldn't know about their characters before it is too late, Yana suggested. Don't worry, I'm confident. No matter how strange their origins are, as long as they come to our team, they wouldn't dare to act inappropriately. Fenglin smiled lightly, his voice filled with immense confidence, as if he had acquired their Achilles' heels. After knowing their contact info from Yana, he didn't waste time and immediately activated his ID microchip and sent a message to the 2 of them. Where did Fenglin's confidence come from? The 2 of them felt puzzled. Many people had tried to recruit Yi, but Yi remained unmoved. What qualifications did their small team have to make Yi agree? There was no need to say anything more about Suli. He was a walking jinx and brought bad luck to the people around him. Fenglin wanted to recruit these 2? This was basically impossible. The 2 sisters didn't feel that Fenglin's chances were good. They felt that he would fail for sure. Fenglin didn't bother too much. He continued to browse the information of the other candidates, and then his eyes lit up. These candidates were like treasures that had been hidden away from Fenglin's eyes. He was like sifting through the sand for gold. Those who could participate in Cosmos University's exam would definitely not be your average Joe. They had to pass many trials to get here. Each of the candidates would have high potential. Very soon, Fenglin spotted another potential candidate. Name, Tuguya. Age, 18. Background, Huaxia Star Republic, Yellow Earth Planet. Vitality stat, 592. The holographic screen showed a muscular young man with skin as tough as rocks. His muscles were compact, and he was over 3 meters in height, resembling an earthen stone giant. His fists punched out unceasingly, causing the ground to tremble as he pummeled his opponent in violence. The earth was trembling. So he has the power of gravity and can control earth and stone to a certain degree. Fenglin's eyes flashed. This short video already allowed him to analyze the abilities of this giant. His body was clad in a stony carapace that was incomparably tough. It also allowed him to tunnel through the earth with ease, aiding him if he needed to flee. The overall strength of this man wasn't bad. Grandpa Earth? Or Tuxingsuan? Fenglin had some speculations. The abilities weren't bad, but the potential of his mythological path seemed to be on the lower spectrum. The mythological paths of the other candidates couldn't be compared to Hui mythological path or the nine-tailed fox mythological path in terms of quality. If this was in the past, he might have paid some attention to this man. But now, since he had 2 better candidates to consider, he naturally didn't care much about this Guiyao. What was important was the fact that this earth and stone giant preferred direct attacks, a path of brute force and violence. This stacked with Eris's abilities. Since they didn't really need him, they might as well give up on recruiting him. Fenglin continued to browse. There were too many geniuses with all kinds of abilities. Also, in terms of mythology and legends, the Huaxia system was one of the most complex out of all of humanity's myths and legends. The Huaxia system could be split into shamanism, Tao, gods, demons, ghosts, and devils. Each of these subclasses had different unique abilities, and there were simply all sorts of genes that branched off from the subclasses. Given Feng Lin's proficiency in mythology, he could roughly understand the abilities of these candidates. However, he wasn't able to get more detailed information unless he interacted with them personally. But even so, their general mythological path was still clear to him. In any case, none of the other candidates was comparable to the first two he had picked earlier. When he was browsing, the sound of footsteps suddenly rang out from outside, moving nearer to them. Who? The Greek sisters felt bewildered. The three of them had never interacted with outsiders. Who would look for them? Yet, Feng Lin sensed something. A mysterious smile appeared on his face. Speak of the devil. Eris warily went to open the door, and a strange guest walked in. This man had a black cloak clad around him, a lanky figure, and a height of over 2 meters. His arm that was revealed outside showed bronze skin that had tattoos of totems. His entire body seemed to be filled with explosive energy. Somehow his back was bent like he was carrying something that was covered by the cloak. Who are you? Eris's eyes were filled with hostilities. Her combat instincts made her sense an intense threat from this man. She was like a tigress with its fur standing on its end. The black-robed man tensed. He spoke in a hoarse voice, "Are you not the ones who invited me here?" Yana frowned. She sent out a strand of her mental energy over, yet there was some sort of barriers erected by the black-robed man, blocking her from scouring his thoughts. She couldn't help but be surprised. She was already an elite cultivator and her mental force had greatly increased. Yet, she actually failed? Who is this person? The two sisters stared at the man. The atmosphere got increasingly tense. A light laughter suddenly broke the tension. Feng Lin walked over. Don't be nervous, this is a valued guest whom I invited. He didn't care about the startled looks in the eyes of the two sisters. He directly revealed the identity of this person. If my guess isn't wrong, you should be Yi, right? You're Feng Lin? Do you know me before this? The black-robed man took off his cloak, revealing a young man with bronze-colored skin. His eyes were cold, and they stared like a hawk at Feng Lin, as sharp as arrows, as though his gaze could penetrate everything. It was actually Yi. Feng Lin truly managed to invite him over. How had he done so? According to the information she saw, Yi had never accepted invitations from any other teams. The Greek sisters exchanged mutual glances. Although they had interacted with Feng Lin for a long time, they still felt that he was cloaked in mystery. I don't know you, but I know your mythological path, Feng Lin replied to Yi's question. After a period of silence, Yi spoke in a heavy tone, how can I trust you? I've stated it very clearly in the email. Don't you trust me? If I didn't guess incorrectly, your mythological path should not be whole, right? Your knowledge about it is in bits and pieces. What if I can tell you everything about your mythological path? Feng Lin smiled. The two of them gauged each other. Eris had a confused look on her face. Yana seemed to have thought of something. Her expressions changed, turning into one of shock. She thought of what had happened before when she first met Feng Lin. He had instantly managed to guess her and her sister's mythological paths back then. Could it be that this Feng Lin was very well versed in the mythologies of the ancient Earth era? Although Feng Lin had given many hints, he didn't reply straight away. He frowned before speaking in a heavy tone, I don't believe you. Even my clan doesn't have the complete record for the mythology path I'm walking on, let alone you. In any case, whether your words are true or false, I will know once we fight. If you cannot even defeat me, how is it possible for you to know the complete mythological path? His desire to fight could be seen on his face. He radiated an aura of wildness. Ultimately, he wants to fight against me? Feng Lin sighed silently. These geniuses were all extremely proud. It wasn't so easy to convince them. Even if Feng Lin had precious knowledge about myths and legends, everything was useless if no one believed him. Between cultivators, strength was the only thing that counted. Without strength, they wouldn't even have the authority to speak. This is fine as well. Let's talk using strength then. He believed that Yi would have no more objections after their fight. Sure. But wait a bit, said Feng Lin. Yi felt puzzled. Why? Feng Lin calmly continued, because there's one more person coming as well. The sounds of footsteps actually echoed out at this instant. A strange fragrance permeated the air like that from 100 flowers, causing one's soul to be mesmerized. Demonic human? Yi's voice was filled with hostility, waking everyone from the mesmerized state. Shaman warrior? Another voice as charming as bells rang out. A graceful and lithe figure with a fox mask appeared before everyone. Behind him, his 3 tails took form, spreading out in the air as he stared straight at Yi with no hints of wanting to back down. The hatred between shamans and demons existed since ancient times. Was the mutual hatred something passed down by the genes they awakened? It seemed like the mythological genes still hid some secrets that Feng Lin didn't know of. This was the first time the two of them met, yet the atmosphere now was so cold. It was as though both of them wanted to fight each other to the death. However, they also knew that the exam would soon start and this wasn't the time for them to fight. They knew what was important. If they fought a life-and-death battle and got injured before the exam, that would truly be stupid. You say you can guide me down my mythological path? Is this true? The fox-faced youth snorted coldly, ignoring Yi. He directly turned to Feng Lin. That's only natural. Feng Lin nodded. Now, before my team of 3, I will reiterate what I said in the email. As long as the 2 of you join our team, after the exam ends, I will tell you the complete mythological path for each of you. We can sign a contract now. With interstellar laws as protection, it would naturally be effective. The youth with the fox mask fell silent as he contemplated. If everything is true, signing a contract is naturally no problem. The youth snorted with arrogance. However, the prerequisite is that you have to prove you can defeat me. If not, everything you said is just bullshit. I knew you would say that. Feng Lin sighed again. The 2 of you, please come with me. He led the 2 of them to a vast cultivation room. He turned to calmly face them and extended his hand with an inviting gesture. Which of you first? Me. As the sound of his voice faded, an arrow shot through the air. The sharp aura instantly locked onto Feng Lin's forehead, not allowing him to evade. This was a sure-shot arrow, with a 100% accuracy rate. It was fine if the arrow didn't leave the bow, but once it left the bow, it would make sure to strike the target and exterminate the target's soul. Chapter 266, Arrow of Karma Law. The arrow shot through space, quickly closing the distance. It left behind a silvery line and was so fast that no one could react. A shout rang out like thunder, emitting an ancient charm like a voice from ancient Huaxia. This Yi was intentionally reminding Feng Lin to be careful with that shout. He was afraid that Feng Lin wouldn't be able to block this arrow and ended up dying. Good. Feng Lin's eyes narrowed, staring at the fired arrow. He was stunned by the aura behind it and could clearly sense that this arrow was aiming for the center of his brows. Not an inch was off, it was aimed at the direct center. Arrows naturally needed to be accurate. Such precise archery was from the chasing wind technique. It was wondrous. Feng Lin's body flashed as he agilely evaded. However, a buzzing sound rang out from the arrow's tip. It actually locked onto Feng Lin and changed direction in mid-air, not allowing Feng Lin to evade. This arrow could track targets automatically. Given such a short distance, there should be no way for anyone to evade. A silver light erupted from Feng Lin's forehead. His spirit force gushed forth like tides as a formless hand grabbed the arrow. This tiny arrow had the force of a charging bull contained within. He wasn't able to do anything but forcefully diverted it. Chi-ike. The arrow passed him by. He was startled. His 100% accuracy shot actually missed. This was the first time. "You're pretty good." Battle intent could be seen in his eyes as he started to get serious. In ancient times countless eons ago, shaman warriors had had to fight against the sky, the earth, and the gods. They had boundless a battle will and feared no fights. Feng Lin just displayed his skill slightly, and this already caused Yi's battle intent to well up, treating him like a real opponent. Hand, foot, eye. He shouted and pulled his bow, releasing 3 arrows in a single breath, aiming for Feng Lin's hand, foot, and eye. He was immensely confident in his archery that he wouldn't miss. The truth was as such as well. Feng Lin's figure suddenly vibrated at high speed. His silhouette flashed, creating many after-images that confused illusory with reality. The arrows seemed to be locked onto Feng Lin with the power of some mysterious law. The arrows started to spin like a top. The tips of the arrows were shaking. They ignored everything and focused on the true target. Feng Lin's hair stood on its end. He couldn't evade this. No matter what he tried, he had a feeling that these arrows were unavoidable. Feng Lin had a sudden shocking thought in his heart. These arrows were like the legendary arrows of karma, something that couldn't be evaded. As expected of someone walking on the Hui mythological path. This was bizarre yet extremely powerful. Since he wasn't able to evade the arrows, he could only block them. Growing on his path until now, Feng Lin had experienced many slaughters, thus, his combat prowess had far surpassed his peers. He instantly had a strategy on how to deal with it. No matter how quick a human's speed was, they couldn't dodge an arrow fired by someone in the same cultivation realm as them. This was a law in the universe. Human strength could not change that. Feng Lin's spirit force turned corporeal, creating layers of invisible walls before him. Poo, piu, piu. The sharp arrows shot out, directly penetrating through the walls. It seemed like nothing could block them. But after penetrating through the layers of walls, the force within them was no longer as powerful as when they had just been fired. Feng Lin casually waved his hand and caught the 3 arrows in his hand. He saw that these arrows were forged from white bones and had a jade-like luster. Maybe they were some treasure. 10,000 arrows spread open. Chi, chi, chi. It was like he had found a desirable opponent. The battle intent in his eyes grew stronger, blazing with excitement. The bowstring twanged repeatedly, the sounds of 1,000 horses galloping echoed out. The arrows were as dense as rains, forming continuous chains in the air, like how a peacock would spread its tail. This attack was incomparably beautiful, yet it was full of killing intent. It instantly engulfed Feng Lin. Boom! Feng Lin's body soared into the air. His spirit force formed a protective golden halo around him. Ding, ding, ding. The sounds of colliding rang out as sparks manifested. The arrows that were like the rain managed to break through the protective layer once more and their power was greatly reduced. Feng Lin's figure spun like a spinning top in the air. He used his legs as a whip, ruthlessly sweeping it out against those arrows. After the arrows fell onto the ground, they actually vanished silently and automatically returned to Yi's quiver. They seemed endless in number and would never be used up. How could Feng Lin not understand? This set of bow and arrows must have formed a complete set. They were considered a very rare treasure and a pretty powerful one as well. It was just that he had no idea if those arrows of karma earlier were an effect of the bow, or were those because of one of Hoi Jin's abilities. He stood at his original location. He planted his feet securely on the ground, and only the muscles on his arms and the bowstring were moving. His strength seemed boundless as he continued to fire batches of arrows like he didn't know what was fatigue. He actually shot out arrows with enough firepower of an army, with the power of one person. For a time, Feng Lin could only defend himself. But being suppressed and not being to retaliate wasn't his style. Hoi! Cannon fist. Feng Lin's muscles were like flowing water. His arms instantly expanded 3 times thicker. This wasn't the art of transformation. Rather, this was an ability conferred to him by his recently awakened violence gene. This ability instantly caused the strength of his arms to increase by 5 to 6 times. Boom! A punch blasted out. An invisible wave of punch force knocked the arrows away, redirecting them into walls. However, the flying arrows were like rain. There were simply too many of them. The arrows he knocked away didn't even make a dent in their numbers. Yet, Feng Lin didn't panic. If a single punch could not settle it, then let it be 2 punches, 3 punches. Rumble. His punches exploded forth like thunder. Feng Lin was like a madman. His punches blasted forth unceasingly, each of them radiating the might of an air cannon. The two clashed against each other, and the aftershock dispersed outward. Their auras were so strong that people would feel stifled, unable to stand stably. One was like a divine archer from primordial times that hunted demons and monsters. The other was like a sage king of punches in an arena of darkness. The two of them fought against each other, strength against strength. This brutal scene caused terror to flash through the expressions of the Greek sisters. As for Suli, as his face was hidden under the fox mask, no one could tell from his expressions. However, his eyes gleamed brightly, filled with trepidation. Good technique. At this moment, Feng Lin and Yi exchanged mutual glances as a faint feeling of understanding connected the two of them. Only by meeting equal opponents would one find delight in combat. These bone arrows were strangely tenacious. Even after bearing the brunt of impact from Feng Lin's cannon fist, they weren't damaged at all. Since this was the case, Feng Lin would no longer hold back. Bzz. The violent wind whistled. Feng Lin rubbed his hands. In an instant, a metal cudgel instantly enlarged. He brandished it around, creating a vortex of tornadoes, drawing all the arrows within before he scattered them with force. Yi's countenance was completely pale. These arrows were objects that were controlled by his mind. Now that they were forcefully scattered, he naturally suffered damage to his vigor. His heart sank. What weapon is that cudgel? This Feng Lin actually has such a divine weapon. No wonder he is that confident. But at this moment, he didn't have any time to think too much. As his storm of arrows was stopped, a huge flaw revealed itself. Feng Lin's body curled up and shot through the temporarily created gap as he rushed toward Yi. Great Sage, cleaving the mountain. His body stretched out smoothly, arching his back like a bow. The metal cudgel in his hand slammed down with great power, capable of cleaving mountains and severing seas. Nothing could escape the destruction. A great sense of crisis arose in Yi's heart. He actually used the bone bow in his hands as a weapon and swept out with it horizontally to block. Bang! Sparks flew everywhere. Feng Lin took a step back before lunging over again. Yi didn't cower. The edge of the bone bow was as sharp as a sword. As an archer, he actually had no fear at all and went ahead to engage Feng Lin in close combat. The edge of the bow was extremely sharp, and the brute force contained within the cudgel was exceptionally strong. The two of them were like matchless generals on the battlefield duking it out against the other. Every clash of their weapons produced sparks and a ringing sound that echoed through the air. Feng Lin discovered that he wasn't only good at archery, his close combat prowess was also extremely terrifying. Shaman dance. He stepped around with an unusual rhythm. This martial art seemed extremely strange, radiating a barbaric aura. His body transformed into a series of afterimages as he circled around Feng Lin. This was like shamans in ancient times dancing around a bonfire. Numerous witch-like chants rang out from his mouth as the tattoos on his body seemed to come alive. They writhed about like earthworms as a black light filled with the power of curses radiated forth. The sharp-edged bone bow pierced out in an unusual angle, wanting to tear Feng Lin into shreds. He used his blood as a sacrifice to the tattoos of his ancestors, and the air began to warp, provoking an eerie feeling. These moves were all illogical and extremely strange, but they were immensely powerful. Even for Feng Lin, he wasn't able to find their flaws in such a short time. However, there was no need for him to find the flaws of these attacks. The great sage cudgel arts were like gushing ocean tides, filling the air with its shadow. Since he wasn't able to find the flaws, he would brute force his way through everything. Let's see who was stronger in a direct clash. The essence of his cudgel arts was displayed fully, complementing the measureless divine metal cudgel. Their might was exceedingly great, far surpassing one's imagination. However, Yi, who was still in the midst of the shaman dance, calmly faced it. As expected of someone who was on Hou-Yi mythological path. Hou-Yi was after all someone who shot down 9 suns. The potential of this path was extremely startling. I wasn't in any way inferior to his own son Wukong mythological path. However, potential was one thing. How would the cultivator develop their own path based on the respective mythology paths they were on was the key question. Even for cultivators on Hou-Yi mythological path, Feng Lin felt no fear at all even if he had to confront them. After sparring for so long, he also saw through the generality of some of his opponent's techniques. No matter how many changes there were within his techniques, who would be able to win against Sun Wukong in terms of brute force? There might be some other mythological paths that could trump Sun Wukong's, but up until now, Feng Lin hadn't met any cultivator with such a mythological path before. In any case, now was not the time to tangle too long with Yi. In the future, there would surely be more chances for sparring. His heart monkey force gushed out, empowering his cudgel. The weight of his cudgel instantly increased by 3 times, and the strength of his entire body increased by 3 times as well. The cudgel smashed down. This move was extremely ordinary, yet it caused the entire space to twist as the pressure like a tall mountain burst out. What? Yi's natural instincts warned him that something was wrong. A moment later, he felt a mountain of pressure boring down on him. His eyes narrowed as he continuously retreated. However, under the flood of cudgel force, there was no escape. Yi could only defend head-on. He instinctively used his bow to block. Gotcha. What? Yi was blasted away, flung through the air from the impact. He slammed into a metal wall like a cannon before stopping. Enduring his churning chi and blood, he lowered his head and looked. He saw clear cracks on his bone bow. In an instant, pain and fear filled his heart. He endured the pain of his churning chi and blood. His breaking sun bow was an ancient treasure inherited from his clan and was incomparably tough. Yet now, the impact force from the cudgel actually caused cracks to appear on it? What sort of treasure was that cudgel exactly? He naturally wouldn't know that the cudgel in Feng Lin's hand was a divine weapon that could prop up an entire continent. If not, he wouldn't have chosen to use his bow to defend. After gaining the advantage, Feng Lin felt freer. He continued with his barrage. The cudgel shadows were quick and ruthless like a violent tornado and a fierce storm. He attacked to his heart's content. His blows were filled with absolute strength. Punching each other with fists, beating each other with cudgels, that was a man's romance. Although this was a spar, Feng Lin had no intention to show mercy. He wanted to overwhelm Yi completely. Yi wasn't able to defend and had to retreat continuously. Fish and arrow. Yi gave a roar and his hands plucked the bowstring, shooting out an arrow that split off into millions before raining down from the sky. Ding, ding, ding. The metal cudgel spun around, creating a perfect circle of defense that blocked the arrows. He wasn't so naive to think that he would be able to defeat Feng Lin with this single move. He merely used this attack to lengthen the distance between them. At the next moment, he pulled on his bow, causing it to bend into the form of a crescent moon as his aura intensified. You are very strong. If I use ordinary techniques, I won't be your opponent, Yi spoke heavily. However, I have one more arrow. If you can block it, I will admit your superiority and join your team willingly. Bring it on, said Feng Lin calmly. Settling things in a single blow? This was also what he wanted. How much strength would a warrior on the Hou-Yi mythology path have if he went all out? It truly caused him to feel the anticipation. The aura grew thicker. The sharpness intent permeated the air, piercing into people's skin and locking on Feng Lin. It's coming. Feng Lin's eyes shone with a cold light. Creak. A hoarse grinding sound of metal rubbing against metal echoed out. This arrow seemed extremely slow, like a video in slow motion. However, Feng Lin didn't let down his guard. The slower an arrow appeared to be, the more force it had contained within it. Despite Yi's high vitality stat, his arms couldn't help but tremble violently after he shot this arrow. It was like his arms weren't able to bear the burden. Chi. Sparks trailed after the arrow. The arrow actually caused intense friction by shooting through the air. The sparks created were as resplendent as fireworks, resembling a giant bird spreading its wings and lifting its head to let out a resounding cry as its body was cloaked in fire. This arrow is so slow. No. It is so exceptionally fast. The slowness he saw was just an illusion due to the arrow reaching the extremes in speed. Feng Lin blinked. He only saw a firebird rushing toward him. This felt like the legendary golden crow descended from the sky. It was as if shooting stars arced through the air, wanting to incinerate the world. Feng Lin was no exception. Blazing flames instantly engulfed him. Golden crow descent. He placed his bow down as his body shuddered. He was staring closely at this scene. A moment later, the flames faded, revealing Feng Lin's figure. Although his clothes were charred, his skin had a protective layer of jade luster. Feng Lin still stood at his original location. Creak, creak. His palms were like an iron hoop, grabbing hold of that arrow tightly. He exerted force and the bone arrow suddenly crumbled apart, disintegrating into powder before dissipating into the wind. Only then did Feng Lin spread his hands. Bloody wounds could be seen in his palms from the immense force. In addition, a tiny hole appeared in the center of Feng Lin's brows as a drop of blood flowed from it. He had almost died. Feng Lin knew how fortunate he was. That arrow was too quick and too powerful, almost breaking past his defense. Although Feng Lin didn't know the exact amount of strength needed to break past his defense, he knew this was close, very close. Excellent. I will join your team. He conceded his defeat when he saw this scene. He hugged the bone bow in his embrace and stepped to the side, closing his eyes in meditation. You are strong, very strong. Although I don't know how the solar system could produce such a strong expert like you, your strength has gained my recognition. The revealed eyes of Su Li from his mask flashed brightly. He then continued, "As long as you can receive one of my attacks, I will also join your team. Please." Feng Lin didn't waste words and gestured out an invitation. Cultivators were all prideful individuals. If they didn't talk to each other with their strength, it would be very hard for them to convince people. He would take this chance to see the true abilities of his team members. Su Li's robes fluttered in the wind as the inauspicious demonic qi gushed forth like the tides. The demonic qi condensed into 3 tails behind him. He threw his head back and roared. His tails were erect as the light from 3 different energy types could be seen on the tip of his tails. Black fire, purple lightning, silver snow. 3 energy types fused together, forming an energy loop that complemented each other. 3 tails loop. A voice rang out. The power of this felt like a hoop over one's head. The target would be bombarded with ice, fire, and lightning. It was capable of destroying all things. Chapter 267, 9 Stars Aligned. The cruel frost of ice, the burning flames of fire, the numbing of thunder, the power of the 3-tail loop. These 3 different energy types combined, instantly producing a power capable of destroying all matter. Everywhere the energy passed by, the area around it emitted crackling noises, and a charred smell permeated the atmosphere. The 3 tails loop rapidly expanded, enveloping the surroundings. It was like a gigantic canopy. There was no way for anyone to hide. Feng Lin also didn't prepare to hide. If he didn't face this head-on, even if Su Li was defeated, most probably he wouldn't feel convinced in his heart. In that case, Feng Lin would make him convinced. He stood at his original location unmovingly, but he had already activated the abilities of the spiritual stone monkey gene to the maximum. His skin shone with a jade-like luster and gradually formed a stone carapace around him. It was like he was within a stone egg, surrounded by protection. Stone birth transformation. This was a unique ability of his stone monkey gene that he had obtained after he enhanced it to the max stone transformation. The price for using this ability was that he would lose all ability to move and would be enveloped by stone, exchanging mobility for a greatly enhanced defense. Even the lava around Mars's core wasn't able to do anything to him in this form. Now that his cultivation base had advanced, his defensive prowess was naturally much greater as well. There was naturally no problem to block this 3 tails loop. Amidst the gasps of shock, Feng Lin was already engulfed by lightning, frost, and flames. He was submerged inside the energy torrent and vanished completely. Su Li's eyes narrowed as he stared at Feng Lin's figure. His eyes shone with a cold light. Why is this man so confident? He didn't even attempt to evade it and actually chose to face it head-on. Did he really think that my 3 tails loop is an ordinary energy attack? The power of this loop truly wasn't ordinary. Feng Lin was buried within. Frozen by ice, burnt by fire, numbed by the lightning, this power of disintegration would cause the structure of matter to break down, a power of complete destruction. Ordinary people truly wouldn't be able to withstand this. But fortunately, he was an exception. The layer of jade-like light on his skin flashed repeatedly, forming another thin layer of protection. All energy that came in contact with it would slide off to the sides. He was untouchable by laws of any kind. Feng Lin might be submerged, but he suffered no injuries. Before the jade light dissipated, the energy from the 3 tails hoop was completely useless against him. Compared to material attacks, energy attacks were completely negated by his ability of being impervious to fire and water. Bang! His figure trembled as the hoop around him broke apart. They turned into motes of energy before dissipating. What? Upon seeing Feng Lin unharmed, despite his clothes being charred, Su Li was extremely shocked. He instinctively grew wary of Feng Lin. he was allowed to execute his strongest technique. If this was a real fight, he would have no chance against Feng Lin as well. A bumpkin cultivator from the solar system was actually so powerful? This was simply unbelievable. Feng Lin mysteriously smiled. After joining my team, you can do that as well. That's because I've already gained complete knowledge about my own mythological path and developed all my abilities, strengthening them to the max. It just so happens that your abilities are completely countered by mine. He revealed some simple details, but he didn't divulge his true secrets. Oh. Su Li had a look of contemplation on his face. He glanced at Yi, feeling extremely difficult to make a decision. Shamans and demons were always on opposing sides. Although he had already turned on his clan and fled from his demonic cultivation family, he hadn't fallen to a degree where he would stand on the same side as a shaman warrior. He intended to reject, but common sense stopped him from saying something stupid like, "I will never be on the same team as a shaman." Since he needed Feng Lin's help, if he caused trouble, there would be no benefits for him. But if he could really gain the complete knowledge of his mythological path, it was worth it no matter what price he had to pay. Humph. Su Li and Yi mutually stared at each other. Their eyes were filled with coldness and hostility. Because of the mythological path I'm on, I suffer from an invisible curse. Those around me would have extremely bad luck and end up with very dire fates. Are you sure you want to team up with me? He asked, wanting to remind Feng Lin. Feng Lin calmly smiled. He didn't mind this at all. Sun Wukong was in existence who even dared to rebel against the heavens. His mythological path was full of taboos. What was there to fear about some invisible curse? Before true power, all hidden problems would ultimately be suppressed. For cultivators, our creed should be that my fate is mine to dictate, and not for the heavens. Why should you and I care so much about fates? Feng Lin laughed. Upon hearing this, Su Li no longer hesitated. He nodded. Fine, I will join this team. Yi, who heard Feng Lin's words, turned his head and cast him a deep glance. His eyes were filled with an agreement as well. Upon seeing this, Feng Lin's smile widened. He knew that he had managed to convince these two unyielding individuals. How did you accomplish this? Yana at the side was still puzzled. She sent a mental transmission to Feng Lin. She was very curious about what Feng Lin had written in his emails that made these two individuals who didn't form teams with others to actually come all the way here. Feng Lin simply smiled and said nothing. What she didn't know was that in the invitation emails, he had only written a set of words on the two emails respectively. Hou-Yi shooting the suns. Ninetails Sky Fox. Before their complete mythological path, who would be able to resist the temptation? What was slightly troublesome was Yi and Su Li. They were a shaman and a demon. Their relationship was going to be like fire and water. But as long as they joined the team, the hostilities between the two wouldn't be able to make any huge waves, as Feng Lin didn't plan on telling them the mythological secrets right away. How valuable was a complete mythological path? Giving it to them because they joined the team? This price was far too cheap. Feng Lin wouldn't do such businesses. What he was planning to give them was just the qualifications to join the Mythological Gene Association. This meant that even after they joined the association, they still needed to pay a huge price before they could obtain the complete mythological path. From the start to the end, they would be within Feng Lin's palm. Under his control. There were countless mythological paths out there, and Feng Lin could only select one to walk, or a few others. However, if the bulk of the mythological paths in his knowledge wasn't used, wouldn't that be too much of a waste? This was why he wanted to establish the Mythological Gene Association. He had the knowledge, and he naturally wanted to make use of it in a way that would benefit him in the best way. countless mythological paths meant that there were countless possibilities. By having more members, upon combining strengths, it meant that their futures would be brighter. At that time, the Mythological Gene Association would aid him to rise and reach an unprecedented height where no one could surpass. Wealth, companion, law, earth. One's cultivation was the key, but resources couldn't be lacked. The universe was simply too vast. One's strength had a limit to it, after all, and Feng Lin wouldn't be able to digest everything. The reason why Feng Lin established the association was because he wanted to extend his reach to seize cultivation resources of the universe, use the combined strength of his team to help each other out, and also to increase his own cultivation base. This was the correct way. Feng Lin's team wasn't picked by him randomly. They were all people with huge potential. They would become the cornerstones of the Mythological Gene Association after they grew stronger in the future. Even now, he could already tell how extraordinary they were. Su Lianyi joined the team, and the small team of 5 people was officially formed. Now, they only had to wait for the exam to arrive. During the next few days, the 5 of them concentrated on their cultivations, wanting to increase their strength and adjust themselves to their peak states. Feng Lin wasn't stingy. He took out the genetic potions he had concocted for them to consume. All these were external items. There was no need for him to be a miser. The stronger his teammates were, the more help they would be able to provide to him. In addition, he was already an initial-grade geneticist. As long as he had the ingredients, he would be able to concoct these genetic potions easily. Also, after he had awakened his spiritual stone monkey gene, Feng Lin's control over energy was much stronger than before. In fact, he felt that he could already attempt alchemy. However, alchemy was too vast and profound. Now, time wasn't in his favor, so he could only put this aside for now. His team members were all cultivators, thus, they naturally wouldn't act polite for the sake of it. They knew that the stronger their team members were, the better it would be for everyone. They thanked Feng Lin and took the genetic potions he had provided. They put in all their efforts in cultivation. Waves of pressure radiated forth from each cultivation room. Their vitality stats were all rising quickly. Feng Lin also concentrated on his cultivation. He drank a bottle of holy transcendent water and one of the remaining Queen Aberration's gene hypothesis. Once these nutritious items were consumed, he activated the art of refining energy into qi to digest them. They instantly transformed into currents of warmth that flowed around his body. With enough nutrients, it was like a stream of water nurturing the parched land. Genetic potential plus 0.6, plus 0.6, plus 0.6. His genetic potential surged, soon reaching 20.8. Feng Lin suddenly opened his eyes, feeling extremely dissatisfied. After experiencing his huge improvement back then, the increase of 0.6 to his genetic potential truly felt insignificant. After becoming an elite cultivator, his need for genetic potential increased by tens to hundreds of times. With such slow speed, he didn't know how long it would take for him to become a grand cultivator. However, with limited conditions, he was helpless as well. Clearly, the grade of the genetic potions he had concocted was simply too low. They no longer fit his needs. If this was the case, he had to make enhancing his geneticist level a top priority. He had to be able to concoct higher-graded potions. Time was limited, conditions were too. Right now, he could only temporarily endure this and put this aside until the first exam was concluded. In the blink of an eye, 5 to 6 days passed. Feng Lin's genetic potential unknowingly increased by 100.8. He decisively strengthened his bestial gene to 9, violence gene to 8, maxing them out. His genetic potential dwindled down to 10.8. The abilities of these 2 genes would be of great help to him. strengthening them to the max was a good thing. As for the coercion gene, that was only a kind of mental pressure. He temporarily ignored that for now. He had one free primeval genetic point, and could use that to strengthen something at crucial times and recover his strength. He would keep this in reserve for the times he might need it. There was no hurry. After the two transcendent genes were strengthened to the max, Feng Lin's vitality stat broke past 700, reaching 712. His aura became as heavy as a mountain. He crossed another major point. Feng Lin practiced his beast-like fist art. His punches were filled with thunderous force, creating ripples through the air that spread continuously outward, causing the space around him to tremble. The break time of 10 days finally ended. The first exam of Cosmos University would officially begin. Feng Lin's team walked out, only to see that the combat field was already flooded with people. The examiners stood at the entrance to register the information of the team members. Captain, Feng Lin, candidate from the solar system. Members, Yana, candidate from the solar system. Members, Eris, candidate from the solar system. Members, E, candidate from the Huaxia Star Republic. Members, Suli, candidate from the Huaxia Star Republic. Feng Lin's team of 5 reported their names. At the start, the examiner had a cold look on his face. But when he heard Yi and Su Li's name, he was involuntarily shocked. 2 candidates from the Huaxia Star Republic actually were willing to join a team with candidates from the solar system? Anyone would be shocked if they learned of this. What made him even more puzzled was that the captain was someone from the solar system as well. What capabilities did he have to be able to convince these 2 from the Huaxia Star Republic? The examiner stared at Feng Lin, surveying him carefully. However, joining a team was the freedom of the candidates. He wouldn't probe too much about this. Despite so, he already felt that the chances of this team wouldn't be high because their captain was someone from the solar system. No matter how outstanding candidates from the solar system were, how good could they be? Most probably, this team would fail in the first round. After that, all the teams arrived and the exam officially started. In the combat field, the applause was like thunder, continuously ringing out. Boom! The sky split open. A cluster of flames that resembled the sun fell from the sky. In the center of the cluster of flames, a muscular figure could be seen there. The flames cloaked him like a god of fire from the legends. Boundless heat and heavy pressure gushed forth from him. The exam candidates were all shocked. Marshal of the Special Forces from the blazing army of the Interstellar Cultivation Association, Qi Feihu. The examiner is actually him. What a boss! I heard that his cultivation has already reached the Grand Adept realm. Sounds of exclamations rang out from the candidates. Qi Feihu was in his military uniform. He stepped on balls of fire and stood in the air, peering down at everyone. His voice then rang out through the entire space. In this place, the first exam of Cosmos University officially begins. The mission for this exam is an interstellar debarkation battle. Your mission is to attack and occupy a new life planet and seize the things the Interstellar Cultivation Association set as targets for you. There are over 1 million exam candidates. This means that there are over 200,000 teams. Every 100 teams will form into a group. We will send each group to different locations of the planet. Only 5 teams would be qualified to pass the first exam, the others would be directly eliminated. The team in the first place can directly pass this exam, while the other 4 have to fight the second interstellar debarkation battle. After 3 times, if they still cannot get the first place and pass the exam, they would also be eliminated. After he spoke, whisperings broke out in the field. All the exam candidates were intelligent people seeing that they could reach this step. Their expressions all turned solemn as they understood the criteria of the first exam. The answer was to take fast and ruthless actions, directly obtaining the first place and passing the exam. By doing so, they would be able to obtain the longest period of resting time to prepare for the second exam. If not, even if they became the top 5, they would have to fight the debarkation battle again and again. Even if they were fortunate enough to pass it in the end, everyone on the team would be greatly exhausted by then, which wouldn't bode well for the second exam. The Cultivation Association discovered a brand new spiritual chi planet. Within there are great amounts of rare spirit minerals called spirit crystals. What you all need to do is to seize the highest grade spirit crystal from the people of the planet. This spirit crystal is known as the spirit crystal bead. Once this item is seized, the aboriginals of the planet would no longer have any strength to resist and can be easily subdued by us. You all have a total of 10 days. During this period, we will send you supplies silently by airdrop. However, resources are limited. You all will have to seize what you can for yourselves. Marshal Chifehu then continued, "Now, put on your battle suits. The star teleportation formation will soon be activated." Feng Lin and the others started to get busy and wore the battle suits that were akin to armor. Rumble. The earth was shaking. The starry space golden pyramid revolved around unceasingly. Alignment of the 9 planets. The energy from the bottom planet gradually flowed up. Abruptly, the planet at the peak erupted forth with energy. A gigantic light pillar shot into the dark starry space as a gigantic gate of darkness slowly opened. Countless runes appeared beneath the feet of everyone, constituting a great formation. Artificial wormhole? The destructive might in the air caused Feng Lin's body to tremble. At the next moment, all the exam candidates transformed into a flowing light that was absorbed into the gate of darkness. Feng Lin felt himself entering a bottomless tunnel. Sinking, sinking. Chapter 268, Seeking to Live Amidst Danger. Whoa. Violent gales howled into their ears. Plunging. They were rapidly plunging. Feng Lin's team members opened their eyes and discovered that they were situated high up in the sky, passing through the cloud layers, and in the middle of landing on a continent. They opened up their battle suits and gas gushed out, allowing them to stabilize their bodies and land gradually. The star teleportation formation was truly unbelievable. Feng Lin was full of emotions. It took just an instant for the world to change, and they were able to traverse across the universe. It was truly a miracle. The 5 of them gathered and started to search for a landing point. Right now, the other teams passed by them and were landing like paratroopers. Yana opened up her microchip and a 3-dimensional map appeared. It documented the geographical situation and distribution of races in the vicinity. This was a brand new planet with intense spiritual chi, with all sorts of intelligent races born. Based on the scoutings done by human technology, it was discovered that there were 5 spots on this domain that had the greatest spiritual chi reaction. They were the Chaotic Star Lake, 3-Layer Mountain, Blackwater Abyss, Cloud Smoke Swamp, and Golden Plains. Each of these places stood out a lot when one looked down from the sky. These were also the places with the most number of paratroopers. However, Yana pointed to a secluded area that only had a weak energy reaction. As the team's brain, Feng Lin knew that she wouldn't do things without any reason and decided to believe in her judgment. Right now, Yi's gaze was dim and filled with dissatisfaction. He looked at the areas that had the most number of teams landing and seemed raring to go. He was filled with battle intent. He could not wait to spar with these experts of the same age as himself. Shamans lived in the wilderness and fought with beasts. Their battle wills were far stronger than other humans. However, since Feng Lin as the leader had nodded, this matter was decided and he shouldn't protest too much. The team landed toward a green mountain valley. This was a primitive mountain valley called the Emerald Valley. the place was filled with green trees and grass. The planet's environment had clearly been thoroughly scanned. All the terrains had already been named. As a primitive planet that didn't have a high civilization level amongst the races here, the Cultivation Association didn't send armies to flatten it. Instead, they treated it as a real-life examination area to test the examinees who were applying for the Cosmos universities. The 5 of them landed. At the first instant, Feng Lin discovered that the spiritual qi was so thick here that it made his hair stand on end. It was beyond imagination. It was even thicker than that at the starry space golden pyramid. Spiritual qi planet. It was an undeveloped spiritual qi planet. Endless amount of spiritual qi came surging over, entering through their pores. It was as if their entire body had been cleansed by clear spring water inside out. A gush of wild and primitive aura came gushing over. It was a natural and primitive scene. The Emerald Valley was true to its name with beautiful mountains and rivers. Everything was covered in an emerald green color and was extremely beautiful. The moment Feng Lin's group landed, they immediately opened up the holographic map to check out the surrounding environment. Gij. Cuckoo, JJ. Suddenly, a series of weird cries that were like that of birds rang out. They were like eerie laughter that brought a chill to one's bones. Strange waves extended out like a light breeze that stirred up their mind, causing them to feel dazed and sink into a murky state. They felt as if their bodies were floating in hot springs. Their surroundings were extremely warm and comfortable, making them feel like sleeping. Wake up! Ripples appeared in Feng Lin's calm heart, and he suddenly became wary and let out a low bellow. Violent spirit force gushed out. Everyone's bodies trembled and the murkiness in their eyes instantly dissipated. They were stunned. This weird laughter was an illusory art that could bewitch people's hearts. Who's there? They started to check out the surroundings. The forest swayed and massive black shadows that were over 2 meters tall walked out. They were 3-headed monster birds that were the size of ostriches and had 6 long tail feathers on their back. What the hell are these? Eris gasped. The native living creatures on this planet were really weird. The monster birds came close and their eyes radiated with strange gleams. They stared at Feng Lin's group with judgmental gazes. It was as if they wanted to see through them. Each of the monster birds' 3 heads kept on crying out in all sorts of pitches, as if they were speaking non-stop in an extremely complicated language. Gold light flashed rapidly in Yana's eyes. She entered a high-speed calculating state. The monster birds kept on crying out incessantly and got close to them. Feng Lin's group had no idea what abilities these native life forms had and they remained on guard. Cuckoo, GGG, GG. A series of weird cries rang out with a unique rhythm. Feng Lin's group looked over Yana strangely as she released the same bird cries. The strange thing was that the many bird heads looked over. Kululu. Ding ding. Dang dang, the 3-headed monster birds replied. JG. Duo duo. Jiang jiang, Yana kept on calling out and started communicating with these 3-headed monster birds. The strange cries really seemed like a type of language. After a while, the 3-headed bird in the lead cried out in a loud voice, and all the monster birds moved aside, leaving a path. This is... Feng Lin looked toward Yana. These monsters are an intelligent race and have their own language. I decrypted their language system earlier. They want us to follow them. Yana said in a light tone. Intelligent race? Feng Lin was slightly surprised. The native races on this planet were really strange. These monster birds say that we're guests and they want to bring us to their nests and play host to us. Yana said. Are they really so kind? Feng Lin was on the alert and he communicated with the other 4 through mental communication. Those not of the same race don't think the same as us. Be careful. We'll follow them first, observe the situation, and get an understanding of Emerald Valley's situation. Once there are changes, we'll immediately take action to wipe out all of them. Yana and the others nodded as they received Feng Lin's command. The 5 of them pretended to abide by the monster birds and followed them to the depths of the Emerald Valley. The 3-headed monster birds were like soldiers, lining up on both sides and releasing joyful cries, as if they were welcoming their guests warmly. Feng Lin observed carefully and noticed that some of the monster birds reflected a metal glow all over their bodies. They were covered in layers of metal feathers that were like armor. To be able to use tools was a sign that these monster birds were really intelligent races. What kind of abilities did these monster birds have? What kind of civilization did they develop? All of these were just mysteries. The roads were slightly bendy as if it was a paradise in the mortal world. The air was filled with spiritual qi that felt very refreshing. Feng Lin's group followed the group of monster birds to the depths of the Emerald Valley. Swoosh swoosh. They walked to the very end and a dense forest appeared before them. It was as if green waves were seething. Coo coo coo. The monster birds cried again, flapping their wings and urging Feng Lin's group to enter quickly. They're saying that this is their nest, and they are telling us to enter quickly. Yana translated. Is that so? Feng Lin let out a cold laugh and didn't say much. Do it. He let out a bellow suddenly. However, Eris and the others didn't waste time on crap talk and acted instantly. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Sharp arrows came raining down. Boom boom boom. Tyrant aura encompassed Eris completely, taking on the form of a giant battle statue. Her fists were like mountains that came crashing down, instantly turning the monster birds into meat paste. Swinging his 3 tails, Su Li's figure was as elusive as a ghost's, flashing incessantly in the air. The moment those monster birds came into contact with his body in the slightest, they would instantly turn into ashes, frozen birds, or charred corpses. Neither Feng Lin nor Yana made a move. Yana knew her limitations. These monster birds weren't even transcendent living creatures, and once the 3 of them made a move, there wouldn't be a need for her to do anything. Things were different for Feng Lin. Silver light flashed on his forehead, and his spirit force probed into the depths of the forest. He felt that there was an aura of a life form that had been suppressed for a very long time. It was extremely eerie and horrifying, like it would pounce out at any moment. It was a violent aura that seemed to want to annihilate everything. He was extremely wary. These monster birds were really up to no good. Eris and the other 2 made a move, and the monster birds were surprised and infuriated. They went charging out toward the 3 of them. Pa pa pa. They flapped their wings crazily, bringing forth waves of strong gales that sent rocks raining down. The monster birds that were draped in armor even spurted out black flames from their mouths. The auras contained in those flames were like demonic auras, but yet different. 10,000 arrows spread open. He kept shooting out arrows, sending countless arrows raining down single-handedly like a peacock that was spreading out its wings. It was a beautiful sight that was filled with lethal killing intent. With each arrow shot out, there would be one person, no, one bird that would be struck and die a horrible death. Eris's battle statue was over 30 meters tall. As she stomped onto the ground, the earth, rocks, and trees would crumble. The monster birds were like mantises trying to stop a chariot, instantly crushed into meat paste. Black fire, violet lightning, white ice. Magical techniques were like shooting stars, shooting out to and fro in the sky. Su Li was as elusive as a ghost, darting amongst the monster birds and taking their lives without any restraints. In the beginning, the monster birds tried to put up a resistance, but in the end, they were terrified after having seen so many of their kind being killed. They completely broke down and started fleeing in all directions, leaving behind bird corpses everywhere. The trio stopped their actions and wore cold expressions, ready to step forward to harvest their spoils of war. Be careful. Feng Lin let out a low bellow. Roar. Strong gales blew. A huge black shadow darted out from the forest and opened its big mouth that was like a black hole, engulfing everything before it. Feelings of danger rose in their hearts, and they retreated. Kache kacha. They turned and saw those bird corpses being swept up together with earth and rocks, and the black mouth started chewing on them. The massive head slowly shrank back into the dense forest, leaving a pair of apricot yellow color eyes glaring at everyone. The pair of eyes slowly closed and concealed within the darkness. Everything happened in an instant. Feng Lin and the others didn't even manage to see the true form of the black shadow clearly. They merely saw from its head that it looked like a huge python-shaped living creature. It was only then did they understand why Feng Lin asked them to make a move. There was a trap here waiting for them. These monster birds clearly lured them here intentionally to send them to their deaths. The group started to take care of the spoils of war that were left behind. Yana opened up her identity microchip and started to analyze their battle plan. The reason I chose to land here is because the first round is to test our survival skills in danger. The winner wins against all. Therefore, it isn't a clever decision for those people to rush and land on those spots with thick spiritual chi. The competition would be too intense. They might lose their battle prowess at the very first instant due to internal conflict. We have 10 days to slowly plan things out. There's no need for us to restrict ourselves within a disadvantageous environment. This is a spiritual chi planet that is filled with spirit crystals. Each native race here possesses all sorts of strange things. Next, we should make use of the resources here for our development and become stronger. Our goal should be in the word turtle. If we don't, we won't be able to come out first. In a situation where we seek to survive amidst danger, it's very hard to clinch first place if we were to fight head-on. On the contrary, the chances of winning would be higher if we were to lay low and launch sneak attacks. Our slogan would be, "We lose if we don't turtle, once we turtle we'll get to eat chicken for dinner." Feng Lin and the others nodded in agreement. Next, Feng Lin got to work and deal with the spoils of war. Su Li started to repeatedly analyze the monster birds and seemed to have discovered something. He entered deep in thought. "What's the matter?" Feng Lin asked. Su Li fell silent for a moment before slowly speaking up. "On Mount Iwang, there's a bird that is shaped like a crow, has 3 heads and 6 tails, and is good at laughing. Its name is Yu. When eaten, it can let the person sleep well without nightmares, and it can also be used to ward off evil. If I'm not mistaken, this is the world in the classic of mountains and seas." Chapter 269, World in the Classic of Mountains and Seas. World in the Classic of Mountains and Seas? How is that possible? That doesn't make sense. Hearing Su Li's reply, Eris and the others were immediately shocked. The Classic of Mountains and Seas was a classic Wuxiao's myth and legend. Remnants of it were passed down and every interstellar cultivator would learn it. It wasn't something they were unfamiliar with. Feng Lin also pondered. The Classic of Mountains and Seas recorded the living creatures and terrain of ancient Earth. What was its connection with the newly discovered spiritual chi planet that was outside the Milky Way galaxy? The two were separated by countless light years and had no connection at all. Su Li slowly spoke up. The Classic of Mountains and Seas merely refers to a planet's primitive condition when there was nothing but the wilderness. Spirit particles were highly active and could transform all sorts of rocks, trees, fowls, and beasts into a high evolutionary condition that possessed lives and even intelligence. These are spiritual monsters. Spiritual monsters are born from nature unlike demons. They don't reproduce naturally and don't cultivate. These three-headed birds bear a huge resemblance to the strange beast Chitu documented in the remnants of the Classic of Mountains and Seas in our tribe's treasured collection. They have 3 heads and 6 tails, cry like humans laughing, and can bewitch one's heart. Eating their flesh has the effect of warding off nightmares and calm the soul. So that's how it is. Fenglin recalled that Suli came from the Huaxia Star Republic's Green Hill planet and took the 9-tailed fox mythological path. This was definitely not a coincidence. The Classic of Mountains and Seas documented many mysterious places, and Mount Qingqiu was one of them. It was where the 9-tailed foxes were located. The Green Hill planet's name came from the Mount Qingqiu, and they definitely have studied a lot into the Classic of Mountains and Seas. Can the flesh of the bird calm the soul? Fenglin's heart skipped a beat. It might be possible to use this flesh to develop a new gene potion. A brand new spiritual qi planet in itself would be a tremendous treasure. Other than letting them complete their mission, the other reason the Cultivation Association would send examinees here was also to provide them with an opportunity to seize resources to become stronger. Come and take a look. Eris shouted as she held a set of feather clothing, and she draped it on her body. A swooshing sound rang out. Her speed became extremely fast as she shot out like a silver laser beam. Her speed became 3 or 4 times faster than it had been before. This is a spiritual qi equipment. Yana tapped on the information in her microchip. Based on the records found by interstellar humans, this spiritual qi planet has a lot of spirit stones. The native intelligent races will use the spirit stones to create all sorts of strange spiritual qi equipment that have a variety of unbelievable effects. The Emerald Valley produces a type of metal attribute spirit stone. And after it had been cut by these 3-headed birds, the spirit stones were woven to form a spirit feather clothing. It can allow one to become as lithe as a swallow, and the person's speed will increase tremendously. She pursed her lips, and an intelligent glow radiated from her eyes. The intelligence of the races here are enlightened by spirit crystals, and a top-notch spirit crystal object is the foundation of the race's lives and reproduction. That spirit crystal bead is the greatest treasure of the Zheng clan, the biggest tribe on this land. As long as we can snatch this item, the tribe would naturally fall into decline, and it would be much easier to conquer them. This is also the true objective of this examination. If we wish to take the first place, we must use the various strange objects in the world of the Classic of Mountains and Seas to strengthen ourselves. Our enemies aren't just these native living creatures. Our greatest opponents are the other teams of examinees. Without any delays, Fenglin didn't say much and immediately took action. They tracked the activity traces of the 3-headed birds in the Emerald Valley and headed for their nests. Many huge pillar-like trees gradually appeared within their view. Trees, spirit stones, and many other strange objects formed their nests. There were artificial traces as if these were ancient constructions made by intelligent life forms during the primitive era. There were a lot of nests, and they had formed the structure of a primitive tribe. Coo. As Fenglin and the other 4 entered, chaos broke out in the 3-headed birds' tribe. The many strong-looking 3-headed monster birds were spirit feather clothing. It was as if they were warriors wearing armors, pouncing forth fiercely. There was no reason in a battle between intelligent life forms. Either party would have to die. Fenglin's group took action without any hints of reservations. Fenglin's figure wavered, turning into a 3-meter-tall giant. His metal cudgel waved about, forming black shadows and sweeping through the enemies with a great force. Under the cudgel's attack, over 10 3-headed birds were immediately crushed into meat paste. Smashings by the battle statue, arrows raining down, demon fire shooting star. Eris, E, and Su Li each displayed their moves, killing without any restraints. They wiped out these three-headed birds of varying ages without holding back at all. Those not of the same race wouldn't be of the same mind as us. They understood this theory. Being benevolent to the enemy would be cruel to themselves. Wherever the team of 5 passed by, rivers of blood would flow and bird corpses piled up into mountains. Screech! An extremely infuriated shrill rang out. A shadow was cast over their heads as a massive figure that was the size of a small hill came down on them. They raised their heads and discovered that it was a huge bird whose wings would be over 20 meters long when spread out. The 3 heads it had were vibrant with colorful feather crown that looked like an actual crown. Kulala, Jijiekuo, the heads kept on screeching out, and piercing sound waves spread out, causing their consciousness to sink into chaos. To think that you dare to kill my people. If I don't tear you guys up into pieces and swallow you into my stomach, then I wouldn't be called the Cheetah King, Yana translated. Massacring the 3-headed birds had drawn the attention of the king of the birds. Yana no longer held back her means, and a strange golden light encompassed her, forming a set of golden armor that covered her entire body. She was brimming with valiance, as if the goddess of wisdom had returned to the mortal world. Ding ding ding. Yana put her hands together and a golden scepter appeared in them. She waved it, and an invisible mental storm spread out, negating all of that sound waves that had a bewitching effect on their hearts. Feng Lin and the others felt as if a huge burden had been taken off their shoulders. Wisdom hoop. Yana spoke softly and pointed out with her scepter, sending her mental energy spreading out. They condensed into a material form, forming 3 huge golden metal rings that suddenly contracted, restraining the Cheetah King's 3 heads. The mental force seeped into their heads, stirring up their minds. The Cheetah King's heads kept on shaking violently as they screeched non-stop in extreme agony. Fanatic song of battle. Yana swung her scepter once again. Having comprehended Athena's divine role as a goddess of war, she performed the various means she had not used before. Blood-boiling voices rang out in the sky, causing everyone's blood to seethe and their wills to fall into a daze. Coo coo coo. A series of frantic cries rang out. Many 3-headed birds popped out from the surroundings, their eyes filled with craziness as if they had completely lost their cool. They started to attack their leader as well as kill each other. After a short period of absence, a person had changed completely for the better. Yana had just become an elite cultivator, and the first time she made a move, she displayed it extraordinarily. The others didn't lose out to her either. Mental fetters. Feng Lin beckoned with his hand, and an invisible spiritual pressure came pressing down the surroundings. It was as if a massive mountain had come crashing down, causing the Cheetah King's body to sink and lay flat on the ground. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Extremely sharp arrows shot through the sky. Each arrow that shot out would take away an enemy. The Cheetah King wore a layer of feather armor that was extremely tough. However, the arrows pierced through the gaps of the armor. Blood gushed out, dyeing the ground red. War God Hammer. The giant battle statue's fists clenched tightly and came crashing down like huge hammers, flattening the Cheetah King's heads. Demon Fire Shooting Star. Boom boom boom. 3 huge balls of demonic flames came down fiercely, igniting the Cheetah King's body. The team was completely in sync with each other, and they released a series of attacks without holding back. The Cheetah King's appearance was very bold and strong, but it had been taken out immediately by the team after it had said harsh words. Withdraw. Feng Lin seemed to have sensed something with his spirit force and beckoned with his hand. A strange golden feather clothing appeared from the Cheetah King's body, shrank, and landed in his hand. As the spiritual chi equipment belonging to the King of the Birds, this spirit feather clothing was thin as silk and light as air, but yet surprisingly sturdy. Feng Lin used his strength to tug at it, but it didn't suffer any damage. Yana, This spirit feather clothing is yours. An idea popped up in his heart, and he gave this equipment to Yana. Me? Yana was surprised. That's right. The four of us are all battle-typed characters and our speed isn't slow. You're the only supporting character and lack the ability to protect yourself. With this equipment, your speed will increase tremendously. If you were to encounter danger, you'll be able to handle it with ease. Fenglin smiled and looked toward the others. In the future, when we hunt these native races and obtain all sorts of spiritual chi equipment, we'll allocate them to the most suitable person based on their effects. This will strengthen our team's powers in the best way possible. No matter how good the equipment is, they are just external items. What's important is to obtain better results in the examinations. What does everyone think? Eris, E, and Suli gave it some thought and nodded. They felt that this was really the best way to distribute the equipment. With Yana's intelligence, she naturally understood this as well. She didn't stand on ceremony and put on the golden spirit feather clothing. Her face glowed with radiance, as if she was a goddess. Her great beauty caused the eyes of the three men in the team to light up. After taking care of the birds' corpses, the team continued to move on and entered a cave. A series of silvery white light appeared before them, illuminating the enclosed space. Light gleamed on the walls in the cave. They had been embedded with many translucent crystallized gemstones that had fog seething within them. Those turned out to be materialized spiritual chi. All of a sudden, spiritual chi gushed out like tidal waves, instantly wrapping Fenglin's group. Their genetic power started to become extremely active. Their countenances changed and they immediately sat down cross-legged, engulfing the thick spiritual chi that was permeating the air greedily. The spiritual chi had no impurities at all and was the most precious resources for increasing one's cultivation. Where could they find such a great cultivating environment? Genetic potential plus 1.1, plus 1.1, plus 1.1. Despite not taking any gene potion, the rate at which Fenglin's genetic potential was growing broke through the 1 genetic point threshold and surged rapidly. The other four's auras were also increasing at a speed that could be seen by the naked eye. The world of the classic of mountains and seas was an endless source of spiritual chi. Fenglin had the feeling that although the Cosmos University's examination required them to go through a lot of training, it also presented them with a huge opportunity that provided them with ample cultivating resources. As long as the individual had the capability, they could get as much as they wanted. He might be able to probe into the Grand Cultivator realm very soon. After that, the team of 5 didn't stop and headed for the 3-layer mountain, their objective for this trip, with the Emerald Valley as their starting point. They hunted all sorts of native races and seized their resources to strengthen themselves. Without realizing it, Fenglin's potential had grown to 216.8 and his coercion gene was already maxed out. He was only waiting for the evolution of his genes into the Beast King gene. Chapter 270, Humanoid-type Beast King. Bestial gene X9 plus Violence gene X8 plus Coercion gene X6 equals Beast King gene. Now the 3 primeval genes were all maxed out. 3 huge golden stars emitted light and gathered over, forming a massive Milky Way that led to the depths of the dark starry sky. Dong. 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 The void seethed, an intense sound of heartbeat rang out. A huge dark star flickered and gradually woke up, emitting endless light and heat that shone upon the darkness. The Beast King gene was awakened. A pressuring aura rose within the enclosed cave. The wind howled, bringing forth a series of violent waves that were like roars of the ferocious beasts. The pressuring aura astonished the remaining 4 who were cultivating, and their expressions changed. This Fenglin had become stronger again. Why did they say again? Ever since they got to know Fenglin, they noticed that he was going through changes daily as if there were no limits. His ability was beyond imagination. What kind of change did Fenglin go through once again? They started to feel curious. Right now, Fenglin was situated within an enclosed cave. His figure went through a huge change and started to swell up naturally. His bulging muscles revealed wild and ferocious auras. It was as if he was a ferocious beast that was wearing human skin, about to attack and engulf someone at any moment. He gradually closed his eyes and sensed the essence of the genes. A wave of information gushed up in his head. Gene, Beast King Gene. Grade, High-grade Transcendent Gene. Strengthening Tally, 1. Abilities, King of 100 Beasts, Power over Mountains and Forests, Submission of Beast Herd, Commanding at Will. It turned out that the Beast King Gene's abilities were differentiated into two parts, the Beast King Force and the Beast King Might. The Beast King Might referred to the Beast King's inborn might that could suppress all beasts and could be freely used. It was an ability that could control wild beasts. And the Beast King Force was a foundation. Each Beast King emerged as the king in the brutal nature after experiencing countless massacres. Its massacring means had been developed to an extreme, and it could be said to be the strongest in massacres amongst its own kind. Cultivators who had awakened the Beast King gene were like that as well. The Beast King Force could let a cultivator experience tremendous growth. During a battle, their hearts would be completely clear of impurities. Therefore, they could fully display the prowess of every move, have unparalleled ferocity, and be unrivaled amongst those of the same realm. This might sound easy, but it would surpass ordinary people's imagination to really be able to bring forth great prowess. Human beings were also shackled down by life. Even if it was the same martial techniques and the same user, the degree of the prowess would also vary according to the different situations as their conditions fluctuated. When one's condition was good, they would be able to unleash a prowess of over 100%, using softness to overcome strength. When one's condition wasn't good, their fist arts would only display 60 to 70% of their prowess. It would be a great discount. The Beast King experienced countless massacres, and battles were also a part of their natural instincts. The mysterious function of the Beast King Force was that cultivators could constantly be at their best condition during battles, unleashing 100% of their prowess. This was a terrifying advantage. Bang, bang, bang. His fists were like rolling thunder, hammering into the air and unleashing consecutive sounds. Tai Chi Explosive Fist. Xingyi Fist. 8 Trigram Palm. Fenglin started performing Huaxia ancient martial arts, switching between yin and yang in his fist techniques, bringing about a myriad of changes. There wasn't any genetic profoundness in ancient martial arts, and it was hard for them to unleash the prowess of mythological genes. However, as they were legacies that had been polished through long periods of time, what was left was the greatest essence, the apex martial arts. They had been perfected by countless martial artists and held extremely ancient profoundness. Using the Beast King Force to let himself enter a 100% battle condition, Fenglin felt as if he had entered an unprecedented strange realm. The changes to every move in the ancient martial arts appeared in his heart. He faced the intrinsic elements head-on, both the flaws and merits, and they started to gradually become clear. Refining the essence and removing the impurities. Fenglin didn't know what fatigue was and kept on performing the martial arts repeatedly. He adjusted the moves. What seemed to be minute changes actually brought about qualitative improvements, making the moves faster, fiercer, and stronger. The moves had good compatibility with the human body's movements, and Fenglin slowly attained a perfect condition. His strength and speed had reached an extreme to his current realm, unleashing 100% of his battle prowess. With each punch and kick, violent powers gushed out, forming aerial cannons that could be seen by the naked eye. They struck the walls, causing them to shake and leaving behind many astonishing cavities. Feng Lin moved about, twisting his body and turning into strong gales that blew out. Violent waves raged on, causing the air to distort and light rays to become chaotic. Powerful auras soared into the sky, causing Yana, Yi, and the other two to feel great astonishment. Feng Lin seemed to have turned into a live volcano, being able to erupt and drown the mortal world at any moment. How powerful was this person? Beast-like fist art. Feng Lin didn't have reservations at all. After performing the ancient martial arts, he started working on the fist technique that he created himself. The Beast King force, together with the Heart Monkey force, created a myriad of phenomena and changed freely. The forms of all beasts were presented: monkey leaping, tiger pouncing, leopard running. Not only did the moves present the forms of a myriad of beasts, but it also brought out their charms. Each time he struck out, there would be the sound of monkeys screeching, tigers roaring, and leopards howling. The raging auras would bring fear to the opponents before the battle even started. They were extremely chilling. Chi chi chi. Smoke rose and many shocking traces were left behind on the walls. It was as if they were the sharp claw marks from tigers or leopards. A faint feeling of joy rose gradually in Feng Lin's heart. Right now, this beast-like fist art had both the form and spirit. There were no more flaws and had a perfect intrinsic nature. It could be said to be a perfect-grade low-tier martial art. A perfect-grade martial art had no flaws or loopholes when compared with other martial arts of the same tier. They were unrivaled amongst the same-tier products. However, it was only a low-tier genetic martial art, and was nothing special when placed in the massive interstellar space. However, the sense of achievement was something that other people would be unable to imagine, as this was something that he had created solely by himself. Feng Lin remained calm. Seeing that it was already in the middle of the night, both of his hands grabbed a spirit crystal each. He continued cultivating. Cultivation was like going against the currents. If you didn't advance, you would be pushed back. There was no room for any delays. Spiritual chi gushed out from the spirit crystals like spring water, entering his body and nourishing his parched flesh and blood. Genetic potential plus 2.1, plus 2.1, plus 2.1. He still hadn't used any gene potion, but his genetic potential grew at an unprecedented rate. It soon reached 68.8, heading to break through the 100 thresholds. If other people were to see Feng Lin use spirit crystals so lavishly, he would be reprimanded like a wastrel. Spirit crystals were extremely precious. They were the condensation of superdense spirit particles and were extremely rare. Even in the universe, it was also considered an invaluable treasure. People would usually use them to create all sorts of rare genetic products, as the degree of efficiency was far too low if one used them for cultivation. It was too much of a waste. However, Feng Lin gave no shit about using them carefully. It wasn't that he had no idea about their worth, but that he had seen through the truth. No matter how precious the cultivating resources were, if they weren't put to use, what different would they be from trash? Misers wouldn't progress far on the path of cultivation. One of the objectives of the candidates was to experience killing and tempering in order to complete their mission. Another important objective was to test the examinees' abilities to become stronger, bringing out their greatest potential. At the same time, it would also test their overall abilities so that the true geniuses could be selected over good-for-nothings who looked impressive but were in fact useless. Having seen through this hidden objective, Feng Lin naturally wouldn't stand on ceremony. He gave less shit than before regarding the usage of the spirit crystals and rapidly strengthened himself. The other four also understood this point, and under the supply of spirit crystals, their auras grew rapidly at a rate that could be seen by the naked eye. However, Feng Lin discovered that in comparison to Yi and Su Li, Eris and Yana's growth was the fastest. It was as if they were riding a rocket. Although their overall strength was not comparable to the other two, their rate of growth far surpassed them. After giving it some thought, he understood the crucial factor in this. They were all interstellar cultivators from the solar system and grew up in an environment without spiritual chi. They could only rely on the cultivation resources transmitted from the universe for their own use. They were like infants who were born to be malnourished. Now that they had entered this spiritual chi planet with ample spiritual chi supply, their parched bodies immediately received a tremendous growth. The rate at which they improved was very fast, far surpassing the rate of other candidates in the interstellar space. However, they still couldn't catch up with Feng Lin. The vitality growth of the other four members was in all aspects and not focused enough. However, the existence of genetic equation allowed Feng Lin to slowly grow and completely turn everything into data. It could convert the energy into genetic potential and store them. Then, he could be more focused on where he added his points, allowing him to choose the best perks and paths. A huge amount of spirit crystals was used up completely. After one night of cultivation, Feng Lin quickly obtained 2 transcendent grade genetic points, and he added them to the spiritual stone monkey gene and the beast king gene respectively. His attributes became: Name, Feng Lin. Vitality, 789. Transcendent grade gene, spiritual stone monkey gene X5, beast king gene X2. Primeval gene, stone monkey gene X10, spirit gene X10, bestial gene X9, violence gene X8, coercion gene X6. Basic gene, monkey gene X10, stone birth gene X10, adrenaline gene X4, mental gene X9, psychokinesis gene X6, spirituality gene X8, bloodthirst gene X10, beast heart gene X7, strength gene X9, savage gene X8, pressure gene X8, prestige gene X6. Genetic potential, 68.1. Kache kacha. His bones rang out in cohesion as if firecrackers were set off. Feng Lin rose and his muscles swelled up. He became the personification of strength and beauty. He could sense the changes that his body was going through, and a faint feeling of joy rose in his heart. After awakening the Beast King gene, he could now be considered a humanoid-type Beast King. To prevent a case where his improvement was so tremendous that he would attract too many unnecessary surprises, Feng Lin returned to his original appearance, recalled his aura, and appeared completely harmless. The first day of the examinations passed by. After resting for one night, the team of 5 walked out from the caves they were each resting in. Their auras had surged tremendously, and they were filled with energy and vigor. They had adjusted themselves to reach the optimal condition. Thereafter, they moved rapidly and started hunting the native races on this planet. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The winged silver-colored fish pounced out from the water, and they were densely packed together. Feng Lin's team arrived at a lake that was called the Drizzle Lake. They immediately encountered the attack of flying fish that resembled the luo fish. Streams of icicles with bone-chilling auras shot out from the flying fish's mouths, eager to pierce through the 5 of them into holy sieves. Tyrant Aura Battle Statue. Eris's tyrant aura grew increasingly thicker, and a huge figure wearing armor appeared to protect all of them. When the icicles touched the battle figure, they instantly shattered. Soul-devouring arrow rain. He kept on drawing his bow and shooting out endless arrows that came raining down. Each arrow would kill a fish monster. The fish monsters landed on the ground and immediately disintegrated, turning into stone powder. It was as if all of their life essences had been sucked out. A strange flush appeared on Yi's face, and a bloody aura permeated the air. He became increasingly vicious, as if he had no idea what fatigue was. Mental reverberation. Yana was like a goddess dressed in a golden armor while waving her scepter. An invisible mental storm surged out, and wherever they passed by, the flying fish's eyes would turn dull and their minds would be destroyed. They would no longer have any hints of vitality. As the leader of the team, Feng Lin couldn't lose out to the rest of them. Unexpectedly, he charged into the fish swarm by himself. Without using any excessive means, Feng Lin sent his punches out, bringing forth great bloodshed. There were too many of these fish monsters charging over. Countless attacks were launched in an instant, and as long as there was a hint of a flaw, he would instantly be attacked. Feng Lin took this opportunity to demonstrate his martial arts. A violent aura rose throughout his entire body, and as he moved around, he kept on punching out without leaving any gaps. His moves brought about a series of wind that protected him like a great stronghold, as well as forming a millstone of flesh and blood. Once the flying fish got near the absolute defense circle that was 3 feet around his body, they would be instantly crushed into meat paste, and pools of blood would splatter everywhere. His aura was extremely violent as he entered a 100% battle condition, massacring without any restraints. After a series of massacre, regardless of how ferocious the flying fish were or how great their numbers were, they were still wiped out completely. Fish corpses piled up into small mountains, and the stench of blood gushed over. It was extremely pungent. Feng Lin's group held no reservations and dived into the lake. Crystals glimmered at the bottom of the lake as if they were brilliant-looking pearls. It was clearly a huge spirit crystal mine. The cooling energy seeped into their bodies, cleansing their meridians thoroughly. Right now, their greatest takeaway on this trip was that they had obtained many spiritual chi equipment from the flying fish tribe that were called the Mystic Ice Thorn. He didn't stand on ceremony and took all of them. These mystic ice thorns were shaped like long needles and could be modified into long arrows. This would give him an additional fighting mean, increasingly his battle prowess tremendously. In the next 2 days, they continued to advance quickly, hunting many natives on the planet. They wore all sorts of spiritual chi equipment which glimmered in vibrant light. They appeared very different from before. Gathering spirit crystals, modifying spiritual chi equipment, harvesting useful organs from the planet's natives, all of them got to work and became very familiar with the process of harvesting the spoils of war. While collecting their battle spoils, a great feeling of threat rose in Feng Lin's heart. Be careful. Through his spiritual sense, Feng Lin noticed that a massive black figure was heading in their direction and he instinctively called out to the others. The moment he finished saying this, the surface of the water suddenly exploded. Roar! The head of a hideous-looking figure popped out from the water. It was clearly an octopus that was over 50 meters in height. It lashed out its tentacles fiercely toward them. A massive force caused waves to surge, sending the 5 of them flying out. Hand over all of your treasures and I'll spare your lives. A series of weird laughter rang out. Feng Lin's team took their positions. They saw 5 figures standing on the octopus monster, laughing proudly and looking down on them, acting as if Feng Lin's group couldn't escape their grasp. This was a team of examinees, and they had been lying in ambush. Hand over their spoils of war? The corners of Feng Lin's lips curled up into a savage smile. Kill. He let out a low bellow and took the lead to charge out. He didn't hold back at all and dished out killing moves. This round examination was where they were expected to survive amidst harsh and dangerous conditions. There was no way of reasoning between the 2 teams. If they were to encounter each other, it would be a fight to the bitter end. The moment the battle started, it entered an intense situation.